Yeah.
How's the cars feel with the lower tire pressure?
Feels better on the low speed, but not as good on the high speed.
Okay, so we'll leave them where they are.
Yeah.
Just leave them where they are.
Although, the only thing I'm curious, is there a pressure difference between left and right?
Today is the beginning of the end and the start of a new beginning. Time has come to refine yourself and let go of the demons in your head that have held you in captivity for so long. It's time to flip the page and prove them wrong. It's time for rebirth. Yeah, time's up to say goodbye to all the haters, doubters, and non-believers trying to bring you down. In the blink of an eye, you'll realize that there's so much more to the book than the page you were stuck on. Finally, you will feel free to live a life you love living instead of the life you think other people want you to live. Remember, you are the highest authority when it comes to knowing what you want and what you love. So stop trading yourself for the approval from others. Ladies and gentlemen, weirdos and geeks, please repeat after me. I don't give a fuck.
Target acquired.
Eagle 1, first strike. You have permission to engage the target.
Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
There we go. What in the world happened? I don't know what happened there. That was weird. We have $9.99 right out of the gate from Wrongful Rage. Good morning, you pack of unreasonable gents. May the morning be bright and full of laughter. Eat your Wheaties and get out there and make something of yourself. You got this. All right, Wrongful Rage. Thank you for that $9.99, sir. That every little bit helps. That's great. 6 p.m. here. 6 p.m. is just as good a time as any for all the good stuff. So at any rate, guys, how is everyone today? Hopefully everybody's doing well. And I'm having a good time. We're having a good time. I had a request for the topic of the show today, so we're going to get into it here shortly. Anyone that would like to come up and discuss the topic, feel free to do so. In the meantime, I want to remind everyone that this show is supported by my wallet and the kindness of strangers such as yourself, although some of you aren't that strange. And if you can afford to support the chat or support the show in any way, please feel free to do so. One of the better ways to do that is obviously through the TTS and the super chats. However, give a thought to becoming a member. It's the lowest levels, like $5 a month. You get some cool emojis. We will be. I'm going to start doing some members only streams and some other cool content that way. Plus, when merch comes out in a few weeks, we will get you guys set up for the for that TTS coming through.
Therajing Patriot 1776 donated $10 super chat. I grid one take L's from Glenn Lawrence constantly and it's true. LOL.
That's funny. That's funny. Not really though. It's okay. It's okay. Not really though. All right. So, welcome Arctic Timberwolf. Welcome to all of the folks out there in chat. Octavius Dutolan. I don't know how you say that. Good morning, Mr. Boulay. Good to see you. Raging Patriot. Good to see you as well. We have Wrongful Rage, obviously, is in the house. Shazzy Bear from the UK. Good to see you out there. Mikey Balls is in the house, along with who else? Let's see. Corrupt Admin is in the house. Good to see you, sir. Excellent. Rip is in the house. We're doing well today, Rip. Damien is in the house. Darth Grumpy Dad, all up in the house. Today, Corrupt Admin was first in the chat. That's very cool. Very cool. The topic for the day is one that I was asked to do a show on, and that is, why is it that in today's society, young people that are graduating from high school and college are having such a hard time finding employment out in the workplace? And it's interesting because actually a viewer of the show wanted me to talk about this. Thought it would be a great topic. In his case, he has a son, a young man that has gone to college, has a degree. I'm not really sure. I think it's from a community college. It's probably like an associate's or the beginning of a bachelor's degree in biology, mostly I think with plants. And and what he is finding is that in today's job market, employers simply will not hire his generation because they don't believe that these young people will show up for work and put in work and do work. And it's a very interesting thing. That TS coming through from Shazzy Bear.
Shazzy Bear, donated £10, super chat. Here's a little Northern Ireland money, hope it helps, haha, crown.
Awesome, Shazzy Bear. Thank you very much. Every little bit helps. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that. Shazzy Bear is a supporter of the show. And there's a lot of things. I already see the chat responding. And it is it's a very real thing. I'm going to put Shazzy's Bear over here, so we're going to put that up on the channel for those of you guys. If you didn't hear the TTS, there's what it said. Here's a little Northern Ireland money. Hope it helps. Haha. From Shazzy Bear. Thank you very much, Shazzy Bear. So it's a very interesting subject because, again, employers seem to lack faith in these young men and young women. And there's a lot of different reasons we can call out for it. And we're going to dive into most of them today. And it'll be interesting to see what the chat says, because I agree with a lot of what the chat's saying, right? Octavius says, a big cause is their lack of socialization. There have been cases of parents having to go to an interview because their grown children can't make eye contact, etc. Also, they don't feel like they get paid enough. Both of those things are true. Damien, our resident parkour expert, who, by the way, is he has a great channel. If you haven't seen it, please go check out Damien's channel. It's really good. Damien says these kids don't know how to do an interview properly. There's some truth in that as well. Arctic Timberwolf comes in with, oh, that's an easy one. Let me guess, because the system is broken. Just kidding. It's because them kids are lazy. Now, there is some truth to that as well. Shazzy Bear, thank you very much for referring to me as a gentleman. Good morning, Tiki Tack. Good to see you out there in the chat. For you guys that don't know, Tiki Tack has become something of a fixture on the show. He's very helpful and he's a good conversationalist and provides a counterpoint a lot of time to my rambling. So anytime we can have Tiki Tack on, it's great. And I believe he might have a channel, but anytime you see him in a debate or online, the debate's it's probably going to be a really good debate. So, but moving forward, yeah, actually, I agree with all the things that have been said. With that the chat has said, employers are desperate for bodies due to easy money, drop shipping, COVID unemployment, distance employment. Even making $15-20 an hour just is not enough to a lot of people. So, Octavius, you're right about that, and that's really important. That's an important distinction. But here's the thing: I think it's a combination of things. I honestly do believe, I really believe that employers in today's job market 100% do not believe that these, and I don't know, they're Gen, I don't know what they are, Gen A, Gen Z, Gen Y. I'm really not sure which generation we refer to them as. But these 18 to 24-year-olds that are out in the workplace today, it is clear to me that given a choice, an employer is going to choose a 30-year-old, a 28-year-old, a 25-year-old, 26-year-old with some work experience over an 18 to 24-year-old with a modicum of work experience. And it's very interesting to me because, again, I really do believe that they're not doing it as a slight. It's not because that they're, I think they are biased against those people, but I don't believe it's like an evil sort of deal. To me, from what my observation is it's these kids. First of all, I think that the kids, I think these kids really have a bad rap for wanting to play, not taking things seriously, wanting everything handed to them. And regardless of whether the kid in front of an employer is one of that type, he won't hire them. He's not going to take that risk of hiring somebody in and then having having an issue. So that's one thing that's really important, I think, to realize. And Darth Grumpy Dad, maybe it's just because I'm old and grumpy, but we are to blame. We didn't kick our kids outside to play. We lingered in our childhood wanting to play video games with them. In general, not all. He didn't finish that thought. However, yeah, I can agree to some degree with that. We'll get there with that. We'll finish that up. And then you're assuming also it's a career job that doesn't have high turnover, where someone works the same location position for months, if not years. Sure, yeah, they are actually being treated as temp positions. We're going to get into that. They should start building their real world resume in high school, in your opinion? Absolutely. Get a job at a hardware store or something? Absolutely. So here's a, again, real world example here. So the fellow I was talking to yesterday, his son has had various like low paying, minimum wage or just above minimum wage, unskilled jobs, right? And he's willing to get into basically any field right now: construction, the work at Home Depot, whatever. He's willing to do basically whatever to get an actual job, 40 hours a week, wants to move out on his own. And I think that's an admirable quality. And it's one I don't think that you see all the time in the current environment. So I think that's an admirable quality. But again, I really believe that that employers just don't have faith. And given the opportunity, they're not going to hire a kid under 24 years old in the current job environment if they can hire somebody else. Now, I'm going to caveat this, and I think that I think a lot of it is location as well. I know that my nephew, I'm going to contrast this, right? So the kid we're talking about, the fellow called me yesterday, or who I was talking to, I actually called him, but the fellow I was talking to yesterday was talking about his son, is really struggling to find a job, really struggling to find a path. Probably should have gone ahead and finished college, but decided to take a break. And go to work. Doesn't want to move away from home, doesn't want to move away from his girlfriend and that sort of thing. So at that point, he's he's really just looking for a job that'll pay the bills. Now here's and I've only met this kid one time, and I actually don't remember that much about him. He seems like a nice enough kid, but as someone that's hired and fired a lot of people, I probably wouldn't hire that kid either. Not saying that he's a bad kid. It's just, I would look for something else. Now, on the other side of that, I've given a lot of kids who nobody else would hire, I've given them a chance because I saw something in that kid. And this goes back to, which we'll cover later, the interview and all of that. So let me get through this. Let me get through this portion where we talk about part of the why, and we identify some of the reasoning behind this. Part of the reasoning behind it is, stand by, guys. Michelle's going to yell at me if I don't do this, and she's not even here today, but still. So let's do that. There we go. All right, guys, I had to start a goal. Michelle will be mad at me if I don't. And so there we go. But, and it's unfortunate that Darth Daya is not out there today as well. So here's where I'm at on a lot of this, guys. It's one of those things where I feel like that in general, there's a lack, if you will, of preparedness to enter the workforce these days. When I start, and we'll get into my deal as well later. I don't feel like today that most of these young men and women that go into the workforce are willing to start bottom level and move up, and just understand that it's going to be a couple of years before they get into a position, and be able to interview well, be able to address an employer's concern, right? If you are interviewing for a job where, if you're interviewing for a job where math or paying attention or something is a key quality, and you do not look like somebody that pays attention to things, you might address that in the interview. So let's start with the beginning. Everyone that's saying that children are not being put to work early enough, they're not being shown how to work hard early enough, you're all absolutely correct. I fear for my son because while he can work really hard, he's not motivated to work very hard. And given the opportunity, he will be very lazy. Now, that's part of that's just being a teenager, but he has to get out of that habit. And we're taking steps ourselves to fix that. On the other side of that, there's another side to this, and that is when we're talking about young people getting a job, they've got to start really early. They've got to go out, work jobs, show up, have a record of showing up, have a letter of recommendation from a boss saying, yeah, this kid worked nights, weekends, whatever I wanted, showed up, stayed late, got the job done, and I would hire this kid back in a minute, because it helps. Every bit helps when you go into that interview and you sit down in front of somebody who really doesn't want to hire you, because his experience is that people in your age range don't want to work, don't think they get paid enough, don't think that their job is worth doing. They basically, when they are hired, they show up, they put in the minimal amount of effort, and they go home. And the entire time they're bitching about the fact that you've given them a job. And this, to me, this is a lot of mindset. Sorry, guys, I didn't mute my phone. A lot of this is mindset, because, like, for me, I was just glad to get a job. It was very hard in my day to get a job. And it was terrible to get a job, to be honest with you. I had so many interviews that I didn't have the experience. I wasn't what they were looking for, or, hey, we'll call you back, kid. They never call you back. So you have to start at the very beginning, teaching your kids how to deal with the idea that they're going to get rejected, that they're not going to be able to get that job, and to just keep going, right? Silver Ogre, good on you, man. Glad that you're having a break. I mean, that you were able to listen on your break. Give me 1 second, guys. I got to duck off for just 1 second. It's burning up in here. Give me 1 sec. Yep. All right, now we're back. Sorry about that. Had to change the shirt. It was freaking hot in here. So you start off with teaching your kids life is going to be work ethic, respect, responsibility, all of that. Then you get them to get a job as early as they possibly can, because they're going to suck at it. They're gonna not want to go. They're gonna want to not do what they're told to do. They're really gonna shy away from it. And so it's better when they're young to let them have those failures and then move on. They can move on. They can then, they don't have to flame out and and it just kind of ruin their life. It's very important. So the and I'm going to contrast this here in a minute. I promise I'm going to move forward. I know that I'm kind of circling right now, but I promise there's a path forward. So in my day, I started off working when I was about 14. I worked part-time at skating rink. When I was 15, I worked part-time at the skating rink, and I did a summer youth program. And when I turned 16, I worked at the movie theater, and I worked at the somewhere in there. I went to military school. I didn't have a job for 3 years. I got back out. I started working again at the movie theater, but it was kind of a circular thing, because what had ended up happening was the only job that I could get out of school was as a dishwasher at Cracker Barrel. And it was a new store. The only reason I got the job was because it was a new store, and they were basically hiring anybody that showed up. And I busted my ass at it, and to the point that there was a manager of a movie theater chain that was in there having dinner that night, and he said, "Hey man, really like your hustle. Come by the theater. I want to talk to you about a job." So I went and I talked to him. He gave me a job, mainly because I had already worked years before as just basically I just tore tickets. That wasn't like I had a real job there at the theater, but and then I kind of worked my way up through that. I had some other, that was my part-time job. I also worked security. I did a bunch of other things part-time. This was in college. When I got out of college, I pretty much, I was running movie theaters, but that's when I got into car stuff, and I never looked back. And a lot of it was, I had a very specific set of skills. So they weren't interviewing me. They were interviewing my skill set, and they didn't really care about me as a person. They only cared about that I was this widget that they could put into this job, and it would work. Damien, 15, you worked at Arby's. Yeah, that's that's a lot of people have fast food jobs. I've never worked in fast food. I never worked at McDonald's. I never worked at any of those places. What's up, Katibi? How are you? Good to see you out in the chat. So, but in my day, it was really, really hard to even get a job, let alone get a better job or move up or anything like that. It just wasn't happening most of the time. So, contrast that to, what I'm hearing today is that, in this guy's area, there's just not a lot of jobs. He's trying to get a job as in anything, construction, whatever, and he's having problems doing so. And realistically, in my opinion, it's because he doesn't have a skill set to sell, and thus he either has to interview really well, okay, or he has to beat out people that are older and more responsible. So then he has to have a personality that they like, which means he has to interview really well. So this is all something that I think a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, they just kind of forget about it. They don't think about this. So how do you, as a parent or as a young person trying to move up into a different job, if you're in your 20s, well, first thing is know how to dress when you go to an interview. Know how to interview. I know that you hated working, Kat. I know that you still hate working. you're very, very fortunate that that thus far you do not have to work. So I get it. Again, at the end of the day, Kat, you're welcome to come up and discuss this with me. Matter of fact, I was anticipating somebody already having popped up, but we don't seem to have anybody in the mood to do so right now. So, you got to interview well. You've got to be able to. You've got to interview well. You've got to have a skill, or you've got to have a skill set that people want. I mean, there's a list, right? There's a list of things that you need to be able to, for people to want to hire you. And if you're not one of those things, it makes getting hired far less likely. It just is. I mean, it's just that way. I mean, it's not. Nobody's being mean about that. It just is that way. So I don't really know how better to put that than that. Just is. It just is that way. Mr. Boulay, you may come up as well. Let's see. I got to read some of this stuff. You guys are burning through this. It's hard for me to even keep up with the chat right now. It's you guys are just really into this topic. Darth Grumpy lives in Montana, so he'd float between indoor work in the winter, outside work that paid better in the summer. Unfortunately, that left me with no loyalty to any job. That's true. We've already covered that Cat hates working, which is like most cats. Yeah. Let's see. If somebody's going to pay me more for my skills, that's where I went. That's true. And you should be that way. Tiki Tac says he has way too much work, even though I have plenty to say. Tiki Tac can't come up because he's actually behind on a project, so he is. He's got to get caught up. Yeah, it's one of those due yesterday requests came in because he's popular. Yeah, so that's that. So how do I put this, right? So you've got to be able to interview well. You've got to be well spoken. You can't be like Kat Katibi and hate working. Welcome, Kat Katibi. How are you?
Good. How's everyone?
I assume they're good. They've been, they seem very excited about this specific topic. How about you? Are you very excited about this topic?
It's about working? No.
Well, no. So one of my listeners, and actually a friend of mine who listens to the show, we were talking yesterday, and one of the things that the subject came up is that his son, who went to college out of high school, I believe it was a community college, and now he's ready to go to actual college. Mm-hmm. He's done all he can do at community college. He decided not to go to university and instead just work for a couple of years. He didn't want to leave his girlfriend. He wanted to, didn't want to be away from home, even though it's like less than an hour away from home. But girlfriend, parents, he kind of just wanted to take another year and just kind of chill at home. Went out to get a job. No job. No real job. He has a job, part-time job. But again, the way it seems to him, and the way it seems to his dad, and I actually believe this is true. I believe I've even read stuff about this, is that employers are far less likely to hire people under the age of like 24 currently in the job market. So let's say 18 to 22, college age or just out of college, than they ever have been, because the current generation hates to work. They're unreliable. They think that they want too much money and all of these things. So employers would rather hire a 25, 28, 30-year-old person than hire a younger person that can do the same job. So it's leaving an entire generation of kids without work experience, and the questioning why that is. And of course, you've heard some of what I've had to say on it. So
Yeah.
where are you at on that, Kat?
Well, my brother is a manager, so he has to hire people all the time. And he calls me like, I don't know what's wrong with these people. Everybody, they're just not there. There's nothing there. Like the lights on, but nobody's home.
Sure.
So he's having a lot of trouble with that. Yeah, and he says it's everybody. He says it's not just the young people. It's anyone who's willing to do any type of job that's like less than, I want to say like 50,000, maybe like 80,000.
Sure.
Anything less than 80,000, like for entry level type work, that he'll hire people, and like in a couple weeks he's like, they're complaining, "Oh, I can't wake up that early. I can't do this. I can't."
Right.
They can't get to work. They're asking if he can pick them up from home.
Yeah, no, I think that's a real thing. I'm having actually a hard time, because as I told my buddy yesterday, when I was a youngster, that was actually a problem that we faced, is that employers just wouldn't hire us because we had no experience, and they wanted work experience. And that's when that old joke of, it's old now, it was new then. But the joke came about, I need work experience to get a job, but I can't get a job to get work experience, right? And that's how that came about. And it was a real thing, because
we used to
nobody
lie.
would hire you. Nobody would hire you because you were too unreliable, and people needed people to show up and all of that. What happened to all the fish and stuff? What did you change?
I moved everything.
You moved everything. Okay. I gotta say, this looks okay. Could be a little better. Your face is a little shiny. You should powder your nose, but
that's fine. I left this space for the cat.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get them to actually stay there.
Yeah. Chris Lestrange, you're not actually late. I started a little early. So you're fine. You're fine. And I rolled right into the main topic. And I think it is the case that there's so my first job would not allow me in and of itself to have an apartment. Period. There was just no way. Like, I just didn't make enough.
Because you didn't make enough. Okay.
Yeah. It just didn't. I just didn't make enough, right? To afford an apartment, I had to have at least two jobs, and there was a time when I would work 3 jobs, right? And it's interesting that, and this is part of what I think it is that I really feel like, and I really want the chat to tell me if I'm wrong. I really feel like that a lot of people that are under 30, especially under 25, feel like they should be able to do what their parents do, or get what their parents have, the day after they graduate high school.
Yes.
Like, they should just walk into a massive salary, nice car, all of that. They don't have, and for them, there's no period of suffering that they need to go through. And in my case, I used to say, and I still say, that I feel like everyone needs to suffer for their art, whatever that art is, right? Like, when I was, starting out as, I did not just walk into a job as a race technician mechanic guy. I had a job that sucked so bad, right? Worked in a dirty ass garage with a bunch of fucking criminals. And, but I showed up, I did my job, I, excelled at it. And then I moved into different areas. Right. But you first have to have that. We all have those jobs that suck, right? I mean, we all do. And where you're just not happy to get up to go to work. You know what I mean? Like you absolutely hate the idea of going to work. So well, Chris Lestrange is in South Africa, so that's going to be a tough one for you. However, he is looking for an H-1B visa. If you could provide one of those.
Yes, I need a makeup artist.
All right. We have a Wrongful Rage coming in with another $9.99. I got 2 kids, 16, working in the shop. One is great. The others, I have problems mopping the floors. I got both extremes. And I think that's honestly, that's the way it works in society today. And unfortunately, an employer doesn't know until they hire you. And now you're asking a guy to invest a little money in finding out if you're worth it crap. So it's it's I feel like that, I think it's society as a whole telling these kids bad things.
Yeah. Can I tell you a story?
Go right ahead. Please tell us a story. Story hour, everybody. Everybody.
It's quick.
Story hour.
So I was getting some like speakers installed in the ceiling, right? And we had the guys come out to do it, and it was a good reputable company. So like there's an older guy been doing it for like 20 years, and then he's training this younger guy, and I'm listening because they're in my house and I'm in like the same room on the other corner on the computer. So I hear everything they're saying. And basically the younger guy, his parents asked the guy, please give him a job. He's a really good kid. He's a hard worker, blah, blah, blah. So they're working, and this kid is like on his phone, blah, 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 showing this guy memes. And the guy's like, try to focus. So terrible.
Right.
And yeah, the guy's like, okay, I'm going to go up on the roof, get this cable, pull this down, whatever. And he's like, oh, why? Or I forgot, or I didn't see, sorry, like a whole bunch of problems. And then afterwards, he's like, okay, we have to like vacuum because we made a mess, whatever. And then the guy, I can hear, he's right like in my room. He's like, why do we have to do that? Let her figure it out. I'm just like, and then the guy's like, no, this is my business. We have to leave it even better than we found it. Like, this is just good business. And then he's like,
no, you know what? Yeah, that's exactly it. That to be honest with you, I've had the same kind of thing happen. And it's interesting that you say that, because as 13 says, there used to be a 90-day probation grace period before a company even hired you on full time. But see, the thing is I think that most companies have decided they will never hire you on full time, because it's not worth the risk. If they don't want to give you 40 hours and go through all the trouble of putting you on the insurance and doing this and doing that and all the other things, that why do they want to take that risk that you're going to be a problem and then they can't get rid of you, right? I've had a similar experience to you, where I had years ago. This was probably 6 years ago. We bought my wife bought my son. My son got bigger and he needed a bigger bed, right? Because he had a twin and he needed a full or a queen, right? And it's just.
Uh-oh.
Hey, this bed's broken.
Oh, you just glitched out. Sorry.
Oh, it did? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I see that. Yeah. Why did it glitch out? It's been doing that today. I think they're maybe working on the internet somewhere. Anyway, so my wife bought our oldest son, a new bed, because kids get bigger and need a new bed. The delivery guys bring it out. They install the bed. They do like 90% of the work. Never once mention that this bed is broken. So I come in. We're getting getting everything ready, bring in all the stuff, and we start to make the bed. And I look, and it's clearly broken. So now I have to take pictures of it, go to the company and all of that. And it was just why wouldn't you just tell us it's broken, take it back or whatever? But I guess they don't get paid for the delivery or whatever it is, whatever excuse. It was just terrible, terrible customer service all the way around. Contrast that with the same company had delivered a like our washer and dryer, and they said, hey, you're missing this. We'll go ahead and hook it up for now, so you have a washer and dryer. But we've already ordered all this. It'll come in the mail. As soon as it comes in, you call this number and we'll come out and take care of it. And that's exactly what happened. It's like super easy. So I don't know. I feel like that. I think that all of these things are true. It seems to me like there are really good workers out there, and then there are really terrible workers. And as parents, I've really observed that the level of spoiling kids is at an all-time high. Like, there's absolutely no way when I was a youngster that I would have been allowed to stay inside as much as my son is. There's just no way. My mom would have been like, you need to get out of this house. You need to go clean the yard, organize organize the back porch, or go play with your friends, go do something, but get out of here. And I think it's a saying, I don't know. I told my son the other day, I'm like, you were a really hard worker right up until you got a phone. And the minute he got a phone, the minute he had a computer, all he is about is the shorts and just he'll literally just sit there and just you can just hear him giggle. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now that if you do not get out of that habit, you're going to fail. There's no way an employer is going to put up with you doing 15 minutes of work or 20 minutes worth of work and then, spending 2 hours scrolling on your phone, giggling in the corner. Like nobody's going to put up with that shit. And so, and I'm not saying every kid does that, but man, it's like an epidemic, to be honest with you. It's really crazy. Now my kid mows lawn. The kid mows the lawn, but he will literally mow for like 10 or 15 minutes, stop, have to take a break. And you know what he's doing on break, right? He's drinking a bottle of water as slow as he possibly can while he scrolls on his phone. And so it's pretty terrible. Set of circumstances. And I'm not saying my buddy's kid is doing this, and I don't know if Kevin's in the chat today, but hopefully he is. And I don't know that his kid does that. But the problem is most employers, most people that are hiring are people like me that are going to know that or I'm going to suspect that you do that until you prove otherwise, right? Like you're just guilty immediately. And I think that's one of the things that most people don't understand. When you're sitting in that chair asking someone to give you a job, they've already judged you guilty of being a lazy, incompetent, lying asshole. And you have to prove that you are not all of them. Mr. Boulay, you've got a bunch of sound bleeding in for some reason. You must be on your cell phone.
No, the garbage truck is picking up the trash. Maybe what you're picking up.
Yeah.
He'll be gone in a second.
Cool.
I agree with everything you've been saying. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, there's no one smoking gun, right?
No, and there's not going to be any one pill to cure everything. It's just, I think as parents, as mentors, you got to do what you can, in your lane, so to speak.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's just like you said, employers, they just see the generation as a whole that, they're lazy. They don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. But of course not. Not all the kids are like that. I say kids because you and I are older, obviously. Yeah. So yeah, there's no There's no one cure for it all. I do recall when I was living in Germany, I don't know how their school system is now, but back in the day, college students, or excuse me, high school students pretty much had two options when they get closer to graduation. You could either, if you get accepted to university, you continue your academic studies. If not, you go find a trade. And they'd send you to a trade school or apprenticeship program that's part of your high school education, and you learn how to be a welder, an electrician, or some kind of trades in that regards. So in my humble opinion, that is one big thing that we can implement right here, right now, is bring back these VOTEC. That's what they call it when I was in high school, vocational technical, because colleges are for everybody. And the other thing that burns me about college is everybody's studying sociology and women's studies and all that crap. And these kids think they're going to get six-figure salaries out of college with these degrees, let alone any other degree. You don't get a six-figure salary out of school.
Well, I mean, in fairness, they're told, right? So you go to any college orientation. Matter of fact, I challenge I challenge my entire audience. Go to a college orientation, or just meet with the guidance counselor, and you can lie your ass off and say you've got a kid that's, ready to come to college and we're just considering it, and just listen to what they say. They will tell you without a doubt that, well, you getting a degree in what the fuck ever is going to be a real strong move. You need to, it's going to help you out. You're going to go places. It's going to it's going to open a lot of doors. And and then as soon as you get that degree and you say, why are these doors not open? They will literally be like, well, it's a very competitive marketplace. It's very competitive. Did you not do what about your extracurricular activities? And I'm like, motherfucker, I could have been doing extracurricular activities without coming here. Like, what the hell? And so, and I've my wife and I kind of go back and forth on this all the time, because in her world, that does happen, right? And my wife is what they want to use as the rule, right? So she went, and she never had a job before. She went to college. She goes to a job fair. She gets an internship with a company that then offers to hire her.
Bingo. And
then she gets hired there. Then while she's working there, she realizes that, hey, I don't like this. This fucking sucks horribly. I will never be able to do 30 years of this. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this to retirement. And so within a year or two of getting hired at that job, she's constantly looking for new jobs. She goes to an interview day with a company, impresses them enough during her interview that they create a position for her that she then defined. Did that, ended up working in corporate strategy. Oh, you're out?
Yeah.
You haven't finished your cappuccino. Is that cappuccino?
Just a latte.
Just latte. Okay. I've been perfecting my espresso art. So I'm very good with the espresso.
Nice.
Yeah. I had to be. My wife's not, so I have to be I have to excel at it. So my wife just wants coffee. She doesn't care. There's no art to it, just coffee. And I'm like, no. I gotta have maximum yield of caffeine. So I've got that down to an art. But are you sure you got to go, Kat? You don't really have to go. You can hang out.
Pick up my kid.
Well, that's reasonable, I guess. We don't do reasonable around. It's unreasonable around, and not reasonable.
Oh, Grit just doesn't want to be stuck with me. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's not.
You guys will do fine.
Yeah, Kat never comes around anymore. I feel like she's avoiding us. Yeah, I feel like she's avoiding us. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna try.
You're gonna try to avoid us?
No, to come around.
Okay. To come around
Just
more. All right.
Hey,
did you finally get monetized?
Hell no.
What? How are you not monetized, Kat?
People have to watch. Doesn't matter. You know, I make a lot of garbage. Let's be real. I'm trying to figure out what I can do that's interesting. I think my interviews are the best, but nobody watches those.
Got to recalibrate, Kat. Got to
I know.
recalibrate.
I'm going to figure it out one of these days. This year, right?
This is the year. How did you sell that to your husband?
Yeah, I'm just like, I just need one more year.
I don't want to go back to work. Please don't make me go back to work. I don't want a job. I don't want a schedule. I don't want to have to be anywhere, anytime. It only works for you, Kat. It only works for you. All right, go away. Leave me alone.
Bye.
Bye, Kat. Have a good day.
You too.
It's a raid. Who's raiding us? Who raided us?
I think it was Jake.
Jake.
I think.
VO Pod Jake?
Believe it? Yeah, I think so.
All right. JS
Thanks
Urban. Who's JS
Thanks
Urban?
for the raid, Brother Jake. Appreciate it.
All right. I like the raid. Raid it up in here. That's what we need. We need more raid, more rating. A lot of rating. Wasn't you VO Pod? All right. JS.
JS. Yeah, JS Urban.
Who's JS?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the raid.
It's not Jake. Jake got blamed for it, though. We're blaming you, Jake. So,
no, you're spot on with the getting a co-op or an internship. When I was in school, I guess I'm definitely exception to the norm because I studied electrical engineering. So I'm definitely on the outside in that regards.
That's actually a real thing. Let me for those of you guys who are coming in today, what we're talking about is why the current generation of job seekers, the 18 to say 24-year-olds, are not getting hired. The sentiment at JS Urban Adventures, I'm not familiar with that guy. I'm going to have to check that dude out. That's awesome. Good on him. So welcome to all the JS Urban Adventures. Tiny raid, more like a visit. That's cool, man. Hey, man, I'll take anything that we get. So here's the thing. Guys coming in, we're talking about why employers view these young people coming into the workforce as more of a detriment than a bonus, and they do not hire them. They actually have policies to not hire them full time, to keep them at part time, and many other things. So we're not deep diving. We're just kind of like just kicking this subject around, seeing what shakes out, getting some different opinions. I have posited a bunch of different things, and unfortunately, I don't know that we want to just roll back over it. So just strap in, buckle up, and just enjoy the ride while we move ahead. So I'm sorry, Mr. Boulay, you were saying, and I do believe you, that having a marketable skill really helps.
It does. And it was a problem, after when I graduated, and it's still a continuous problem to this day. Many employers, if you have a college education situation, they want you to have some level of experience. I guess I'm going to use air quotes, easier for those who have technical or hard science-based degrees. It's easier for us to go out and get an internship or a co-op in our field. But for someone who's in, say business, finance, marketing, maybe some of the liberal arts, it's hard to find an internship or something to that effect. They're out there, but you got to look hard for them. And I think that's key while you're in college is you got to get some kind of experience that's applicable to your studies or the direction that you want to go. And without that, you got to sell yourself. Just like you're selling a product or anything, you got to sell yourself.
Right.
And if you don't have the credentials or experience, some level of experience to draw from, it's very competitive.
Yeah, I think that's a solid point, right? Like you have to market yourself, and again, just what I was saying to Kat, when you walk into that interview, I mean, most people that interview you are literally going to not like you right out of the gate. Give me 1 second. We'll return to that thought. I want to do this. Once they get out of college, they think they're going to be in a head honcho position and their work ethic blows. Dean Milliken, or Milken, you're absolutely correct. We have $9.99 coming in from Wrongful Rage. Back, he's added the E back in. I test every new hire with the shit jobs. See if they can do them without complaint. You ain't touching high dollar metals or stones until I know you know. He must be in the jewelry business or something similar. But yeah, I mean, and you know what? That's true. You know, when I hired guys in, I would literally hire kids in, and the only job they could do was sweep the floors, put parts away, empty oil drain pans, just literally the shittiest jobs in the place. And I can't tell you how many kids are like, oh, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. And I'm like, yeah, but you working on your friend's ship box using YouTube videos as your textbook does not qualify you in any fucking way to touch something that, you know, is engineered, that you need to know what you're doing, and you're just not qualified. And I wouldn't have hired you if I didn't think you could be. But you gotta put the time in. You know, you gotta suffer for that art. And now there are exceptions. There are exceptions to that, right? Like in engineering and finance and some of these things where you're a widget that can be exchanged, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that engineers especially, so forgive me, Mr. Belay, really hate it when I say this, but you can take an engineer off a project and pop another engineer in, just like you do a memory stick, because the rules are distinct, right? Like it doesn't matter if what that engineer believes in, or as long as they're capable of doing the job, they're going to come up with the same numbers. They're going to come up with the same, or they better come up with the same numbers.
Exactly.
As everybody else, right? So you know, engineers are like widgets, and that's one of the reasons why they're infinitely hireable and infinitely marketable, because a guy knows what he's getting.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that completely. I mean, happened through my career. I moved from one project to another to another. That's the nature of the work I do. So yeah.
Right. And I have a friend of mine who's an EE, I think, or ME something.
Mechanical? What?
No, he's electrical. He mostly deals with computer computer based, or he deals a lot with EVs and technology that runs EVs and in the development phase, right?
Embedded systems, probably.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah. And he gets paid really well. It's all contract. It's all, you know, there's no, you know, like if the money runs out, the contract goes away. But, you know, by that time he's already on the different websites looking for a new contract. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like worked for so many companies that have gone out of business, and it's just the nature of the field that he's in, but he makes good money. Now there are a lot of people that would not be able to live like that. And you also have to know what you can do, what you personally are willing to put up with. If you're a person that wants to come to work every single day, put in your time, go home, drink beer, party with your friends, and then get up the next day and repeat, and you know what time you have to start, and you know what time you have to end, and you kind of have an idea what you're going to be doing, that's a completely different personality than someone who, like me, was very transactional, if I lost one job, didn't matter. I was looking for a job when I found this one, so fuck you guys, I'll go do something else. And I could make my own work. I could generate income, on my own. And so I had a supreme confidence in my ability to maneuver. And so it gave me a lot of freedom, right? Where I could literally just say, yeah, I'm out of here, dude. Fuck you guys. You guys are dumb. I'm not doing this shit. And you may not be that guy, and you need to be really honest with yourself in the employment market, because you may not be able to do that. You may have to take a job that pays less with that exchange for security, a job security. And also, and I don't care if I work 24 hours as long as I'm getting paid. Who cares? On the other side of that, if you might be somebody that you want to know you're getting paid, you want to know what day payday is, you just want everything to be super consistent, regular. You can plan your vacation time, you can plan what you're going to do this weekend, and 3 weekends from now, you know what you're going to do because it's the same every day. That's the kind of job you need to find, right? And there's no shame in that game. If you are the guy who's not going to do anything but go out, hang out, and do factory work, go do it. No shame in that game. Make it happen.
An honest job is a good job in my book.
Any job that fulfills your need to live is a great job. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have, obviously, in this country, we have a very real sense of entitlement and all of these other things, and we kind of should get rid of it. We need to banish that, I guess you would say. But what was your schooling like, Mr. Boulay? What did you do? How did that work out for you after you got out of high school or college or whatever?
Why I became an engineer, my inspiration, believe it or not, was Star Trek.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I 110% believe that.
Yeah, Scotty from the original series, and then the Geordie LaForge character from The Next Generation.
Sure.
They were my inspiration in becoming an engineer. So, yeah, it's corny, but that's the truth. That was my motivation. And, when I took all the general ed classes, I did not do well in them. The social science stuff that, the general ed stuff everybody in college has to take. I despise those classes, but my engineering courses, no problem. A's, B's all the time. So, I enjoyed college more than I did high school because I felt like I had a real purpose and all that jazz. And while I was in school, I took advantage of our career. What do they call it? Career something support department. And you actually go in there and talk with the coordinators, and they help you find a co-op job. Where you could take a semester off and go work for a company for a semester, or find an internship, which is what I did or was able to get. And it was a great internship. I worked at a particle research laboratory. It was called.
Oh, cool.
It was called
CBAF. Spaceman.
No, it's particle physics. It was the original name was CBAF, CEBAF, which means Continuous Electron Beam Accelerator Facility. They later changed it to Jefferson Laboratories. It's in Newport News, Virginia, and I worked there pretty much the last 2 years of my college, and awesome work experience. I learned about hands-on with electronics, how to design circuit boards. I went out and did RF measurements. It was a great learning experience. And I'm really grateful because that gave me the real world experience I could put on my resume. So when I applied, literally got my job before I graduated. And that's the great thing about studying technical field. You could go out, literally get hired before you graduate.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but like I said, that's the exception to the rule. So if I would think that if I didn't want to go to college and be an engineer, I think I would have, hopefully was smart enough, I would have gone to a trade, In fact, I was living in Newport News, Virginia at the time, and at the Newport News shipbuilding, the shipyard there, they had an apprenticeship school. And I found my old high school records, and it was actually written on there, Newport News Shipbuilding Apprenticeship School. So it was there. Yeah, it was an option. And that's a great program. Nice. You go in there, the shipyard hires you. They teach you, it's an accredited program. So you get your associate's degree in whatever it is, but you get to go out in the shipyard and you work in all of the departments in the shipyard, practically every single one of them. And then when you graduate, They send you to, I guess you put a list of like my top 3 departments I want to work in, and then they assign you out there, and then you're off with your career at the shipyard, and they get to retain all that talent. So you get trained for the job, you get paid, you get a free education, and then you just work at the yard, for X number of years to kind of, pay back whatever, for the schooling. And 9 times out of 10, those folks stay at the shipyard and make a 30, 40-year career out of it. So look for opportunities like that, not just at a shipyard, but, well, I mean, all the major shipyards in the United States, I think they have an apprenticeship type program like that. But Newport News is like the most prevalent one that's out there. It's like well regarded and everything. But look for stuff like that to help you. That's what you want to do. For your kids, look for these apprenticeship type schools, not just for shipbuilding, electricians, plumbers, HVAC guys, the guys who work for the power company, put up the power poles. And, that's a whole sector in itself. I mean, that's not easy stuff, putting up the transformers and connecting power lines and stuff. That's, that's a unique skill set too. And they're obviously, when a hurricane or tornado comes through, you see those guys out there all the time, right? So always will be a need for them.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, I think, in that for a lot of people, the idea of an apprenticeship never even enters their mind. It just doesn't. And I don't know. I think that employers today for entry-level jobs they've been burned so many times. They're just not going to. They just don't want to do it anymore. And it's almost impossible to get them to do it. Right. So.
Yeah, it's not easy. The big, the military-industrial complex. All the big companies, they all have like a summer internship type program, and you just got to go to their career website and look, say the semester or 2 before the summer session. And I know the company I was with in my previous position, they had a internship program, and they accepted all kinds of students to do various internships in the company across the U.S. So you could be studying in Tennessee, but then have an internship out in California or something, for example. I'm not, just use that as an example. They're out there. You got to put the time and effort in. And I know that in itself is a task for a lot of people, but you got to do it. You have to do it, because it's nothing's going to come easy. And you got to put in the hustle. I mean, you did. And look what you created. You created this multi-million-dollar business, and you put in the hustle. I know you did.
Even if you don't go engineering, I mean, if you decide to get an education, you need to look around and make sure that it is a legit marketable skill. I think that I can't say that word enough. Marketable skill. It doesn't do you any good to get a degree in underwater basket weaving or feminine studies or the flow of semen in the Nile or any of that kind of stuff. It just, none of that, nobody's going to pay you. Sure, somebody probably conned their way into being paid to do that job. But you should assess your ability to bullshit. And most people are going to be found lacking. So at the end of the day, the reality is that you have to, what skill can you acquire that is marketable? If the number one skill you have is watching YouTube short videos, well, that's a narrow, tough to get job field. If your skill set includes I can fix anything and I'm very good with tools of all kinds, then you open up some options there. If you're willing to learn. Glare 1%er says he started in the commercial construction trades and worked up to being a superintendent for GC. That's a great point. And actually, so I'm about to buy this business. I've been talking about this for the past few weeks, and we may or may not buy it. There's we get into this section of the purchasing. and we start really looking at how much money, where the money goes, how we're going to pay it, and we get into the nitty gritty. And at any point, we could walk away from this deal. Honestly, nothing's set in stone. I could just as easily tomorrow say, "Yeah, fuck this noise. I'm out, done," and we don't even want to talk about it anymore. And we could do that. We could walk away from the table tomorrow. But just assuming it goes forward, I think so. The company has 16 employees, and I think 3 of the employees have their sons working there with them, that they've trained as an apprentice, that they've trained, they're bringing up into the career because it's a good place to work. It's the pay is fair, and it's a continuation of the father-son coaching that I think is important. So if you're going to if you don't want to go to school, which I don't think everybody should go to school, at least understand marketable skill. It's very important to understand that concept. If you don't have a marketable skill, when you go to market, what are you marketing? That you can sit in college and sit still for 8 hours a day. Nobody cares about that.
And it's not for everybody. I'll be the first to say that. And it's okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, criticism I have is, the way society and public school is now, and maybe even private school to some extent, is they all push for the college model.
Yeah.
So get ready for college. You got to go to college to be successful in life. No, you don't.
Right.
There's electricians out there that make just as much as I do. And and their job is in essence 9 to 5. My job doesn't matter what time. I work evenings, I may work weekends, stuff like that. But an electrician or plumber, pretty much, unless it's a big job. I mean, there's exceptions, obviously, but
sure,
they go in, get the job done, they clock out, good to go. Yeah. And that's awesome. Like I said, what did I say?
I don't know. If
honest job is a good job.
Julie Mumford says her husband went to school for automotive technology. His first job was working for Andy Granatelli. That's cool. And her daughter started work as an auto tech, worked her way through welding school and auto body. Now she works on big rigs. Okay. Nothing
Big
wrong
money.
with that.
That's awesome. That's good.
Well, working on, I had some buddies of mine who learned how to weld, and actually self-taught. They self-taught how to weld. Then they went through a quick Votech welding course, got certified. They work on oil rigs. I want to say they work 90 days on and 20 or 30 days off, and they make an unimaginable amount of money.
Oh, they make more than I do, I'm sure.
And it's it's tough because you're out on an oil rig for 2 or 3 months. They're not. Nobody wants to pay to have you come back every week. But I don't know that schedule hasn't changed. I'm just using that as his specific incident. Well, he made tons of money. He had lots of time. When he came home, he didn't have to do anything. He didn't go to work. He sat around the house. He did chores. He fixed his house up. Whatever. I thought that was honestly, I thought it was a great gig. And this is a guy who had literally no education, right? Like he barely made it.
And
through
it's
high
a job that's going to be there forever.
Yeah. but he's got that,
and that job's going to be here forever.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that, the reality is he may not be able to work on the oil rig. I seem to be freezing today.
Yeah. I thought it was me.
No, I think it's me. Yeah. I don't know why. I'm not.
But I was kind of exaggerating. But Yeah, but I think everybody understands my point. You know, those are good quality jobs. They're going to be around for a long time, and you can make the most of it. You know, if you go to, the example I like to use, again, if you go to a trade school or you get in on a, become an electrician or HVAC or something like that, even if you don't go to the school for it, you stay with them. They're going to help you get your, what is it, journeyman license, and you stay with them, and maybe you get to the point where you build your own retail, and you could branch off and maybe start your own, electrician or plumbing business or something like that. But even then, if you stay with them, for example, I have a plumber. He's been to my house about 3 times now, and I specifically ask for him every time. And he gets the dispatcher. She told me he gets requested a lot. He's like one of their most popular plumbers. Good kid. Yeah. And, that's all about it. It's just as much the people skills as it is, the hands-on technical skills. You need that too, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like what Arctic Timberwolf says here. There's a difference between skills and a talent. Skills are abilities learned over time through discipline. A talent is natural gift or ability you're born with. I agree with that, and I think that one of the interesting points to make, I think, is well, hang on, let me read this. $9.99 comes from Wrongful Rage. It's bugged, boys. Legacy only counts if you pass on your knowledge. If you ignore your legacy, it becomes a tool for someone else's. That's correct. That's very, very insightful. Thank you for the $9.99 Wrongful Rage. I really appreciate it. So it's an interesting thing that I believe that most people think that they have a talent when what they have is have a small level of skill that they refine and hone into much greater skill, and then they move forward with it, and which is fine. And I'm kind of going to wrap this topic up a little bit. We'll move into another topic really quickly for the next hour or so. But I'm going to kind of wrap this up by saying that it's tough to get a job in the first place. And once you have the job, you've got to do what it takes to maintain and keep that job. Because if you don't, you're out. Not everybody goes to school. Not everybody goes to tech school. Not everybody goes to art school. You have to determine early on what you are going to be successful at in life. Because everyone tells you that you are a great artist doesn't mean you are an artist, doesn't mean that you can create art that will sell, doesn't mean that you should go to art school. You have to take a very critical look at your actual capabilities, the things that you're actually interested in, or straight up what you are willing to do. There's countless examples of men and women who worked jobs they hated, not because they were good at it, but because they could do it and it made them money and it provided for themselves and their families. And, there's no shame in that game. There really isn't. If it puts food on,
not at all.
And and I'm going to I'm not saying I'm closing the topic, but I kind of am. I'm going to move on after this, but kind of the last thing I want to say about this today is that you have to support yourself and you have to figure out what it is. And at the end of the day, you have to do whatever it takes to put food on your table. It is horrid for me to even think of asking someone else to provide for me. It's horrid. I can't even think about it. And so I never allowed myself the luxury of thinking, well, I could learn to code. I could be a computer guy. No, I didn't do that. I knew going into all of this that more than likely it was gonna be that I couldn't do any of that. Like it wasn't in the cards for me. So I just had to work really hard. And then once I understood other things, I moved into other areas. So, Tiki Tack says, I don't like programming, but it pays well. What keeps me motivated is focusing on the success of the team and success of the project. That's awesome. That's exactly how it should be. And to be honest with you, more people, if they would just focus on being good at their job, whatever job that is, they'd be a lot happier in life.
I agree.
Always greener. All of the pedantic sayings. Just go ahead and insert those. So, Mr. Boulay, it's been a minute since you've been on the program. I've been looking to see a revamped, not recreated, but a modernized, slimmed down version of your show. I'm hoping that you've got good news for us, and we can expect those great things soon.
Yes, I finally got. You remember the Amazon was having their hiccups, last month or so. They had some strikes and everything. Well, that put the camera I ordered on delay, and then only when did I get that? Late last week. So I finally got my new camera.
Okay.
So I have I lost my train of thought. I have content ready to start recording. In fact, the series is going to be from the inspiration you and Mike Ball gave me about talking about pre-33 gold in respects to civil forfeiture.
So I saw that.
I'm not really going to focus on the metals and, its financial impact to you, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, it plays into it. But so the whole point is I'm going to kind of give you the little bit of the history of what happened with pre-33 gold. How did they get to that point when FDR issued that executive order to confiscate, i.e. civil forfeiture, which is in essence what he did with that executive order in 33, and what was the consequences of that. So I'm not looking at the metal from monetary point of view, more of the geopolitical personal rights kind of thing. And I think maybe that's kind of a take that I want to do with my channel is there's plenty of people that can talk about metals and the financial stuff about it, but I think maybe looking at the personal impact, the kind of the geopolitical kind of thing, I think maybe that's be interesting for folks. So I promised everybody here in the chat and out there, I am going to work on it and try to get the first video up within the next week or two. That is the plan. That is the goal. And I set myself to do that.
Have you seen the proposed end of civil forfeiture?
No, I have not.
Yeah. So there is a movement that is so the DEA specifically they're trying to reform it. Well, they have reformed it so the DEA specifically cannot just randomly confiscate cash in airports, which was a big deal. I talked about it a couple months ago. And it's been going on for the last few years. It's been getting terrible. And so it's working its way through now. I'm not really sure where I need to look up the status of this. The FAIR Act is what they're aiming to end a lot of this over. But I don't know if it's passed. I'm looking now because now that I'm looking into it.
I'll get my notebook out so I can take notes here because this sounds very applicable to my content I'm going to create.
Yeah, so it's but they're really looking at least for reform. And I think they're trying to end a lot of it. They've had some wins lately against civil asset forfeiture. I think in the Supreme Court, and it's these are small. Like the interesting thing is these are small wins. The Institute for Justice, Institute for it's not civil rights. I think it's Institute for Justice. Let me look. Hang on, stand by. Institute for Justice.
Mhm.
They're the ones that have brought this claim against the civil asset forfeiture, and most of it is exactly, the innocent people are getting smacked around and having their assets taken for no good reason. And so that's a really, first of all, it's terrible. It's just terrible. Like, just
Just wrong.
imagine,
Sure.
Mr. Delay, for a minute, that you have sound mind and body, and you're reasonable human. You decide that you're going to go buy a new whatever it is that you buy,
New car.
and you got to fly from Atlanta or Huntsville to, well, let's say Huntsville to Atlanta. So you're gonna hop on a plane in Huntsville, little turboprop action. You're over in Atlanta, or maybe it's in Florida. Maybe you got to fly down to Florida to get it. And while you're there, the car turns out to not be what you wanted. It's garbage and all that. All right, got to fly home. You're going through security. TSA flags your bag because not only do you have a reasonable amount of cash, which, whatever it is to purchase a car, you also have a bar of gold and a bar of silver, because why not? That's you're into it, you have it, and you never know when you might need a bar of gold. And so TSA flags it with the DEA agent that's in the Atlanta airport, or the Miami airport, wherever you're flying out of. And that guy confronts you and says, "Hey, we suspect you of drug running because you flew from Huntsville to here. It's very suspicious. You had a one-way ticket, and then you came back and got another one-way ticket. That's what a drug mule does. That's mule behavior, and we're confiscating your $30,000 in assets, right? Because the bar of gold's what, like $2,000 right now? 20, 22?
About a little over 2,600.
2,600. Okay. So, got a little tiny bar of gold. You got a little tiny bar of silver, so you got $2,000 in gold, a couple hundred in silver. And you've got, $28,000 in cash on you. So you confiscate your $30,000 in assets, hand you a receipt, and tell you to come to court. That's been the procedure. Currently, I believe, and I need to read up on this, and because I just actually saw this, I think it's just happened a few days ago. I believe that they've won a Supreme Court or Circuit Court win on this, so that the DEA can no longer do that without just cause.
Oh, nice.
They have to have some kind of proof beyond they just think so.
Well, that's a step in the right direction, but even if it's like a lower court ruling, they can use that as a building block for, other cases or other situations, just like the whole pistol brace thing. It's always been all these little decisions here and there, the Keller, the Brown, they used all that, to build up for it. So this is a perfect example of using that. So that is a victory. That's a big victory, actually. That's really big.
Yeah. I think it's really big because the DEA has just been running rampant for so long. It's so crazy how
one of
much
many
power they
alphabet agencies that needs to go away, in my opinion.
It does need to go away. It really does. I mean, their job is done by everybody else. I'm not even sure what they do anymore. Since we've effectively ended the war on drugs for all intent and purposes. I'm not really sure. I'm assuming that the only reason they exist is to confiscate people's stuff and redistribute it. So that's That's true, Glare 1%er. They are actually trying desperately to enforce the brace rule. They're absolutely doing the best they can, and they're losing, but they've already lost. So let's see what we get here. We got Wrongful Rage coming in with, you make purple gold by mixing aluminum and gold into a bar and then annealing it at 600 degrees. Chicks dig it. It's the rage right now. I didn't know aluminum would mix with gold. That's interesting.
Well, anything will mix with anything at a very high temperature.
No, like you can't, like there's some, I mean, I wouldn't think that aluminum and gold.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture it in my head because like when you try and mix nickel with some things, for example, it crumbles into dust because nickel does not.
Yeah.
I don't care how hot you make it. It's just not. It doesn't. It don't.
No,
it
it's brittle. It's brittle
Yeah.
in itself, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't lose. It doesn't form those bonds very easily. So I don't know. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. Let's see.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Thanks for pointing it out because I might be able to tie it in.
I mean, to be honest with you, it never had occurred to me. I know that we've got some really useful titanium alloys lately that have a lot of the benefits of titanium, but not the some of the. It makes the titanium less brittle, a little more ductile, and less prone to galling. 75% gold and 25% aluminum. Interesting. I'm not going to try it, but it's interesting.
No, I don't do pores, so I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong. You can go on YouTube here and you can find precious metal content creators that do pores, and that's kind of up their alley. Yeah,
I don't really have any melting equipment. I mean, I do. I guess I do, but I don't use it for melting. So what else? What else is going on there, Mr. Boulay? Anything cool and exciting? I've seen you around lately. Do you have any comment on on any of the stuff? I know that you were on the other night, I believe, when I was on with the Furby. I believe, I don't know if you were on when I was on with the on the panel with the Reverie last Monday or this past Monday.
No, I missed it.
Those guys.
I do have some new topic, and I'd like to discuss it with you a little bit.
Sure, man.
What's you consider yourself a isolationist to some regards?
No, I am an isolationist.
Okay, you are an isolationist. So go ahead. No, what's your take on this whole Panama and Greenland kind of thing? Acquiring them, or in the case of, I guess, Panama, maybe both of them.
Yeah,
reacquiring them,
reacquiring both of them. Yeah. So I think it's bluster, but I mean, I thought it was stupid of us to give up the Panama Canal to start with. We built it. It was ours. We operated it for 3 or 4 decades. Maybe more. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then for whatever stupid ass reason, we gave it away. We literally gave it away. Nobody's paid us for it. My big problem is that we don't get paid for shit. Mm-hmm. And the entire rest of the world takes a big shitty ass shit right on the US. And I say that because we secure all the trade routes, and yet almost every country in the world has a tariff on our goods going into their countries, which weakens our ability to export. But we do not have tariffs on their goods coming into our country, which strengthens their exports. and weakens our manufacturing base. So the game that everyone loves to play is, well, we don't export anything. We have become a service economy. That's horseshit. We are still the largest manufacturing country in the world. We make more shit here than anybody else on the world, even the Chinese. The Chinese are gaining, but still, we make the most. And I understand the argument, and I agree with the argument, by the way, that U.S. citizens should be engaging in activities that are higher than the alternative, right? Like, for example, we should not be engaging in making, cute little minion rubber molded pencil top eraser things, right? Why do we want to do that? Like, if somebody else wants to do that, great, fucking let them. Why do I don't want to do that? And then
if you want the latest, greatest computational piece of electronics for your server farm for your company, that's the stuff we need to make, in my opinion. Yeah. If you need a little cheap, 10-cent widget, go have it made in China.
Sure. Right. And that's the good argument that people make. And I'm okay with that argument. There's a lot of things about manufacturing. I don't want to get bogged down there. But
I understand.
So manufacturing, we maintain that, people maintain that we've lost the edge and all of that. And that's just not true. And the problem that we have is that we spend an amazing amount of money, like ridiculous level, like ludicrous levels of money.
Ludicrous speed.
I thought the exact same thing. That's exactly where I was going with that. We spend ludicrous levels of money to protect other countries. That's why the entire EU can be their kind of sort of socialism, because they don't have to have a standing army. They don't have to have a real international police force. They don't have to have ships at sea to protect their shipping, because they've subsidized it to us. The problem is that generally when somebody subsidizes something to me, like if I take on a job, if I can become a subcontractor to Mr. Boulay to make sure that he's secure from his home to his office, I get fucking paid for that. I don't pay Mr. Boulay for that. But that's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening is we not only provide the security under which they flourish, we pay for it. Like, this is dumb. Again, and people are like, well, we should be the world cop. We should be the cop on the beat. We should be providing security for shipping lanes. We should be arbitrating these. They make all these ought claims. We ought be in the Middle East trying to negotiate between these warring factions. You know what? Okay, I won't even disagree with you. However, we ought also be getting paid. The reality is we're not. The reality is that if we export goods to China, we pay a shit ton of money to do so. But they do not pay huge export fee tariffs to us. The same thing holds true with Germany, Spain, France, England, all of them. They all have tariffs on U.S. goods. That's why Levi jeans, back when they were made in the U.S., Levi jeans used to cost hundreds of dollars in the UK. They were unheard of in Finland and Denmark. I mean, like you were a rich motherfucker if you had a pair of real, honest to God Levi's.
I remember that.
If you lived abroad,
Yeah.
and there were literally Army soldiers and Air Force that literally made their living selling Levi jeans.
Yes. Oh, I got stories on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So this is and really my argument is isolation versus isolationism versus interventionism. So right now what we do is we intervene. Okay? We do not occupy, control, own. We don't have, we're not the king of fucking Saudi, which maybe we should be, right? We don't, none of that is true. All we do is intervene. We are cops. We are the cops of the world. And our money is spent, our tax dollars is spent every single year through NATO, through WHO, through the UN, all of those things that we've agreed to, which we originally set up so that we would not have to pay, and all the countries would pay in their fair share, and then that money would be dispersed appropriately. Nobody fucking pays in, not one of them. And yet we still keep patrolling. We still have ships at sea. We still, to this day, have how many bases in Korea? South Korea. How many bases do we have in South Korea? 5, 6? I don't know.
Something like that. Pretty close to that. And it's very similar in Japan as well.
How many bases do we have in Germany?
Oh.
Why?
More than one.
Why do we need, why do we need that many military bases in Germany? Are we really that concerned about Poland invading Germany again?
Well,
or vice versa?
I think, I have a little bit of pushback on that. It's good discussion.
No, it's a great discussion. I love that. I love this topic.
Yeah. No, yeah, you did. Yeah. It's
I love this.
I don't think we should be 100% isolationist. We have influence in the world, and we need to maintain that influence so that we can make positive change.
Sure, but being an isolationist country does not change that.
Well, here's my argument. Are we going to renege on any and all of our international agreements?
Well, we can, because nobody else has held their end of the international agreements up.
Well, I bring that up because I learned this past week that Japan pays approximately 80% of the cost for us to have our bases in Japan, including Okinawa. They pay 80%.
100%. They're not paying 100%. And they don't.
80 is a whole lot more than rest of Europe.
They don't. Yeah, they do pay more, but they don't pay for our troops to be there. And we have a very token element in Japan too. You're talking about maybe a couple of thousand troops versus tens.
It's more than that. We have carrier battle group assigned there. We have a Marine Expeditionary Force, at least 3 squadrons of bombers and fighters.
In Japan or on the boat?
No, between mainland Japan, Okinawa, and there's one other island there. I can't remember exactly. So between, say, 2 air bases, a big naval base. I think the small one's a new Army base or something like that. But no, we have a well. Here's another thing I want to point out, and folks in the chat, help me out with this. From my understanding, post World War II, when Japan drafted their constitution, is it Article 4 in their constitution? I'll have the numbers wrong, but they pretty much said, no, we will not use war as a means for international influence or whatever. So in essence, no standing army, right? But obviously they have the self-defense force.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that agreement is that the U.S. would provide their security, and that's an agreement we made with Japan at the end of World War II. So are we going to break that promise to the Japanese people?
Sure. Why wouldn't we? I mean, they are paying more than the rest, but that still doesn't. We're still not getting our dollar's worth, right? So, I don't.
If we start, what's the right word?
I understand.
No longer
Let me address this because I understand where you're going, and I like the argument. It's a good argument to make. However, NATO has not paid its share. No country in NATO has paid its share except for the U.S. in something like 20 years, maybe longer. I didn't go back very far. The same thing with the UN. The only country that actually pays the UN is us. When you start digging into war reparations, the only country that's actually paid their war reparations is Finland. Every single country owes us money. It's like this bullshit with the Ukraine. Everybody's like, well, Ukraine agreed to disarm if the U.S. provided it protection, and that's why we need to give them all this stupid ass money and go help them. However, the reality is Ukraine broke that treaty the day after it was signed. Like, they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. They were supposed to completely demilitarize, and they did not. As a matter of fact, there were missing weapons. Remember when we sent all of those people into the Ukraine and Russia to verify that the weapons were still there, and they weren't? Right? Like, remember this remember all of this stuff that we, back in the day that people kind of forgotten about, that is downplayed because now we're we need to justify giving them all this money. And I don't care. I don't care about any of it. At this point, we have given more than the treaties were designed for us to give. And we just keep taking it. Every year we send the UK money. We send aid to Germany. Germany turns around and uses that aid to enforce tariffs on our goods that go to Germany. This is the problem. And we can argue that, well, now they'll have to have an army. Fine. That's fine. If they want an army in Germany, great. Let them have it. Or they can just use that money and pay us. Right? But bodyguards get paid. If the U.S. wants to be the world's bodyguard, then we need to get paid for that. And the amount of money that we send around the world every year is infuriating. And what's really interesting is that everyone got really pissed off that Israel received something like 600 million, I think it was. It wasn't that. I mean, it was a fairly small number in this grand scheme of things. Everybody got pissed off that they received that much in humanitarian aid, and yet nobody blinks an eye at England, which is more and more controlled by Muslims. Nobody bats an eye at us giving them $1 billion a year in aid. For what? They're their own country. Why are we supporting them? Why is it the U.S. taxpayers' job to do that? It's not. It just isn't. And the threat of war is fine. Go ahead, do it. I dare you. Fuck around and find out the whole deal. All of the catchphrases, all of them. Just throw them all out there. Because at the end of the day, all it's going to do is cost other nations a shit ton of money that they don't have. And instead of costing the taxpayer in America money we don't have.
Well, I agree that NATO has been reneging on their promises to the alliance that they will, spend the appropriate amount of GDP for the defense, to stand up NATO forces and stuff. So I definitely agree with that. But
Right.
100% cold shoulder, no, we cannot do that. We cannot renege on treaties and mutual defense pacts,
If
things like
they
that.
have-
Because that goes to our credibility. We lose our credibility, then what's going to happen in the future when we have to set up economic
Well,
trade agreements and stuff?
Here's the problem. If I promise, Mr. Billy, if I promise to pay you $100,000 a year, and I come to you and I say, hey, Mr. Boulay, you know what? Actually, I'm having a bad year this year. Is there any way you could float me $200,000? And you go, well, maybe. Okay, we'll do that. I'll write you. I have one of my. I don't have it, but I'll get a loan, and I'll get you that 200 grand. That happens, and then you pay me the $100,000, or I pay you the $100,000 out of the money you just loaned me. Or I just keep it all and I make a token payment of $10,000 and I just continue to spend the money like there's no tomorrow. And this is exactly what England, Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, Italy, the entire fucking EU, with the exception, shockingly, of Poland. Poland has actually paid their bill.
Oh, yeah.
As far as they're buying weapons and shit from us. And they do not take any aid from the U.S. They're one of the few European countries that we don't write a check to.
That is correct. And they are one of our number one top buyers of our toys.
Yes, they love our gear.
They love our gear. They love the American people.
So are you upholding is England, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, Ukraine, Chechnya, all of these countries, are they holding up their end of the deal if we are giving them aid and they turn around and don't even pay us the full amount back?
No.
If our treaties are dependent upon those things, which they are, remember, all of our treaties were signed under the idea that both sides would honor the agreements. We have always honored every single treaty, 100% across the board. Nobody else has, Mr. Boulay. That's the problem. And yet the American taxpayer keeps taking it in the ass because our politicians won't nut up and say, no, Germany, fuck you.
Well, Trump has done a good job in regards, in my opinion, saying, hey, you're not going to change something, we're cutting off your foreign aid. And look at how, Nicaragua and El Salvador, no, Mr. Trump, right. We will help with the border crisis,
Yeah.
That's in my opinion, that's what we need to do. We need to renegotiate all these treaties and stuff, but to break them outright, no.
Well, it's not a question of renegotiation. It's a question of going in and saying, you've violated this treaty. This treaty is no longer in effect. If you want to have a treaty, if you want our troops to still be here, if you want this, then we have it. We have to fix this. And if you don't fix it, we fucking check out. Wrongful Rage, $9.99 comes in from Wrongful Rage. You can test that theory at your own convenience. The nicer way to say, fuck around and find out. I like Wrongful Rage a lot. That guy, he is on it. $5 comes in from Ghost 1978. Mr. Boulay, make a deal with your neighbors and pay part of their bills. Sure,
no problem as long as they provide a service to me that I can say yes, right. I will pay you if you provide a service to me. But to me, to give them money really just because, no, I agree with everybody about that.
Right,
it's two-way transaction.
Of the issue that is the crux, right? So it would be different if Germany, for example, said, hey, you know what? We ain't getting fucking money. And our labor unions are ass raping us left and fucking right. And I'm sorry, but we can't pay you. We can't pay you what we promised to pay you. As a matter of fact, if you could float me a couple of $100 million, that would be sweet. And you know what? I'm going to go to Mercedes and I'm going to tell them that they have to knock 20% off of anything sent to the U.S. this year. And matter of fact, none of your goods are going to be taxed when they come into our buying American stuff in Germany is going to be like buying it at the PX or the duty-free store in the airport. We're just not going to tax any American goods because you guys, we owe you big time. If they did that, cool. We're rocking. But nobody's done that, Mr. Belay. Mr. Belay, every single country that we help puts tariffs on our goods, and the Japanese are the worst offenders, followed closely by the Germans.
Well, believe it or not, I completely agree with you, and here's why. Because as part of my research with this whole civil forfeiture and looking into pre-33 gold as the example of it, going back, and I'm looking at my notes here. You mentioned this before in previous podcasts. Before, FDR in 1933, our income was based off tariffs, correct? Well, up until it was around the 1930s area, and I can't find my note on that, but there was an executive order that switched that. I think it was from FDR, not the one about pre-33 gold, but it moved us obviously off of tariffs onto, income tax. We were. There were some numbers floating around, and I got to go back and look at it. But we were pulling in as much as $80 billion from tariffs. 80 billion. Yeah. And that's only, they estimated that was only 2% average of what we were getting from tariffs. And no income tax. No income tax.
No income tax. We didn't need an income tax because every single thing that came into this country was tariffed. And that's one of the reasons why there was piracy, to get around the tariffs. And yet, even with piracy, even with smugglers, we still made a shit ton of money. $5 comes in from Clover Tech. Pew, 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 pew. Flip switch. Burr, burr, burr. Actually, hang on. I got something for this. Got you, Clover Tech. I love that. I love that shit. But yeah, no, I get it. But I mean, realistically, the only thing that the entire world needs to be concerned about with the U.S. is this. That's the only thing it is. That or engaging.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
That or the when we engage the fortunate son button. Those are the two things that the entire rest of the world needs to be very concerned about with the U.S. Beyond that, fuck those guys. There's the entire rest of the world owes us a shit ton. They never pay. I really, that's really the biggest issue that I have is that I understand that we have evolved into the world's beat cop, right? Like we're there when the Somalis wreck ships. We're there when the herpaderps are smuggling opium out of Burma. We're there when all of this shit goes down. The problem is we're not getting paid for it, and we operate at trade deficits to most countries. We operate at, most countries we don't even actually have tariffs on anymore. As a matter of fact, Japan was so sick of our what little tariffs that they actually paid here that they conned us in the late 80s or mid to late 80s. They conned us into allowing them to establish trade zones to build factories on. There's one a half hour from where I'm sitting right now. Like I can drive under a half an hour, and there's a Japanese foreign trade zone where which is called a Nissan factory, and they don't pay taxes on the shit they bring in there.
Nope.
And this is wrong. It's wrong, especially when we provide the security upon which they sleep.
Well, I can't speak for Tennessee, but when Mazda Toyota built the super plant down here in Huntsville, they did get incentives from the state and the city. But my understanding is they expire 10 years from when the factory opened.
Yeah. For the most part, they say that, but then when you look at it, they tend to extend them, right? And so I've actually kind of been looking into this. I think that's one of the reasons the Saturn factory shut down here in Tennessee was that GM, not being a foreign manufacturer, were not able to pay their employees as much as Nissan was, and the difference was literally it wasn't even a half hour's drive in driving distance. So I'm really, look. I'm an isolationist in most things. I believe, honestly, I don't know why we need foreign trade. I don't know why, pretty much everything that we get from China, Japan, Germany, we make that shit here. They actually need shit that we have, right? And they always have. And so I don't understand why we're willing to. I just don't understand why our politicians continuously sell us down the river for shiny trinkets. And I'm sick of it.
I found tie it in with the tariffs. Okay, I mentioned that we were bringing in approximately $80 billion on average with tariffs, i.e. adjusted for inflation.
Adjusted,
blah, blah, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, well, the current trend is that we're only in, folks in the chat, correct me. Because this is stuff I'm putting into the video series I'm doing. We're only bringing in approximately 4.7 trillion from taxpayers. Now, yeah, that's a T versus a B, but again, from the notes I see here, that 80 billion is only 2% of the total received from tariffs when we were bringing in our income from tariffs. So there is something there. I'm looking at the numbers are telling me something's there. So we need to make change. And I actually found out this morning watching the news that there is a bill in the House, and I can't remember who the sponsor is, but it is to get rid of the IRS and impose a national sales tax. So no income tax. Obviously, it get rid of everything.
Oh,
you don't get your mortgage deduction. I'm sorry?
I'm all for that.
Yeah. Oh, no, I am too. That, in my opinion, that solves so many problems I have. It'll get rid of agencies. We don't have to worry about, somebody got this deduction because they're written. No. If you buy something, whether you're a company, a church, an individual, or Elon Musk, you're going to pay. And they said 23%. Yeah, that's high. But look at the big picture. It's equal. Why is it equal? Everybody pays it. No exceptions. Yeah. No deductions. No exceptions. Your church group will pay it. The big megacorp, pharma, that everybody pays it. Nobody gets out of it. I like that idea. And no IRS. That means no income, no filing every year. None of that. It all goes away. And talk about logistics. Guess who can collect it? State tax revenue departments. They already collecting state tax. All they got to do is collect that 23%, and then they send a check to the government. We don't
have a state income tax.
Well, lucky you guys.
Right?
You have a Department of Taxation, so
we have like sales tax. So.
Yeah, well, see, the state collects that. So how hard is it for them to, in terms of logistics, to collect the state sales tax and then the federal income or federal sales tax? Let's just call it that. That's not hard. They could do it. That's all software. It's all computerized now. So the logistics are easy, and we get rid of the IRS, probably parts of maybe the Treasury and or Commerce. We can shrink them because we don't need it.
I'm going to tell you that one of the really interesting things about all of this entire conversation is when we start talking about getting rid of government agencies, it's very difficult to make that happen, because the first thing that's going to happen is some leftist bitch ass motherfucker is going to come out with, but what about the jobs though? They're going to lose 80,000 government employees will be out of work. Now, to me, that seems like
That's not many.
yeah. Why do I care about those guys?
Yeah.
Clover Tack has joined the chat.
Yeah. Now it's all fucked up. That sounded like somebody farted. What was that?
It's just,
That's
you know,
full auto flatulence there. What the hell?
full auto. You have bad speakers, I guess.
Something else I stumbled on when I posed the question about Greenland and Panama. Is it true that Carter sold the canal back to Panama for $1?
Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, it was obviously a stunt, more or less, but we ceded the canal back to Panama out of the goodness of our hearts, because obviously, as a profit-mongering, warlike country, we did not deserve it.
They should have gave it to Van Halen.
Yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah, I got Clover Tack's Walk On music.
Oh my God. You call that music? It's just a bunch of racket.
Yeah. It's suppressing fire. It's what you do.
Maybe just to round off the discussion. In my opinion, taking back control of the Panama Canal, I think strategically it's a good idea. Is it really? I'm not 100% sure, but I would much rather have Greenland for its resources. Strategically, for the Northwest Passage, for shipping between the Atlantic and the Pacific, I see strategic value there. For having bases. Well, we already have facilities there for early warning. Radar looking over China and Mother Russia for pew-pews that should to monitor them, stuff like that. So we already have bases there for that. But in terms of world strategic locations, I think that's important. And also, from a precious metal perspective, they got a lot of rare earth minerals and gold in those frozen mountains of Greenland. So for that alone, I say, why not? Let's make Greenland the 51st state.
Well, it doesn't need to be a state. It could be a territory.
Yeah, like Puerto Rico or Guam. I think that's cool. Is the movement on Greenland, like, hey, people would like to become part of the United States. I'm not 100% sure. I don't see a problem with Greenland being part of the U.S. in some way.
From everything I've seen, I don't think there's enough people there to care one way or the other. They're fairly isolated.
I think it's
way.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you don't go in and like drastically change up the way that they live and their daily lives, people ain't gonna give a shit for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, if we're just honest about everything, there's, at the end of the day, when they say air superiority, what they really mean to say is the United States of America. When they talk about protecting shipping lanes, what they really mean to say is the United States of America. And when they say the boogeyman, what they really mean to say is the United States of America. So at the end of look, should we be a little concerned about, Russia and China teaming up? Sure. I mean, that's fine. But should we fearmonger that concern to the populace to the point where we are hurting ourselves, hurting our economy, and providing millions upon trillions of dollars to other countries that are no friendlier to us. And this is the worst argument that is possibly ever made is, well, if we exit the world, if we're no longer the world police, then Greenland not Greenland, and then Russia and China can team up and come after us. Well, okay, let them. Do you really think of England as an ally? Do you really think of Germany as an ally? If we called up and said, "Hey, we're going to go fuck up Russia," how many troops do you think the entire EU will send us to do that?
Maybe a few thousand like specialized units. That would be pretty much it. Definitely not bulk of infantry for sure.
Sorry, I'm buffering. I was buffering, but yeah, maybe a few thousand.
That grid or me, Boulay?
Then with another $9.99, remove the Jones Acts. Watch our territories begin to flourish. It helps destroy our trade power and ability for internal sea trade. Anyways, I'm out, off to work. I'll be listening. Peace out, Wrongful Rage. Good to have you in the chat today. That is, it's been awesome. Yeah. Old Joe says England has allowed its armed forces to degrade massively. They couldn't respond to any major action at this point in time. Plus, they're probably Muslims by now.
They're trying to rebuild their navy, and they're having a hard time because of cost overruns on the new frigate class that they're trying to implement. The Type 45, Type 46. I don't recall the exact model, but they spent so much money to try to get those two aircraft carriers they have. They just kind of blew their budget, so to speak, and they're trying to recuperate, and they just can't. Their economy isn't strong enough to support their military.
Yeah. So again, I just, who in the world is our ally, really?
Well, I was trying to lead to, at least in terms of naval power, the United Kingdom would be there, but they're going through some economic hardships. So, they can't, obviously the Royal Navy isn't what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I would argue they would try to do as much as they can. Actually, here's my opinion. Who's one of our strongest allies? And Arctic just kind of beat me to it. Well, half of that, Australia. Australia, even though they don't have a very large military, they have been staunch supporters of us. They were there when we, during the war on terrorism and all that jazz. And when we
actually take less money than anybody else from us too.
Well, they surely they do.
And Australia also has a similar history in that, like with the culture of the people, almost, right? Australia almost has like the Wild Wild West theme and feel to it. Australia, that was once like a penal colony, right? So you kind of started out with a lot of ne'er-do-wells and scallywags and whatever the hell, in Australia too. Very similar to the States for sure. Just the history. I'm not saying it's exact, but there's parallels. It's kind of along the same lines.
Yeah, I could go with Australia being an ally because they could help. They don't take very much money from us, and they're really not indebted to anybody else. But if you look at yes, the strongest ally is Poland.
Yes, I agree with that as well. Definitely.
But
because both of them, Australia and Poland, they're buying anything and everything that America has to offer. They're buying it all. Australia's going to get the F-35. Poland's going to get the F-35. Both of them they're buying our tanks. They're buying our. Actually, we have credit. We have credit to give to Australia because the new AWACS replacement for the E-3s is actually the wedge tail, which was designed by the Royal Australian Air Force. Thanks to them, our Air Force is going to have a new AWACS plane, and we didn't have to really spend any development money on it. So thank you, Australia.
Yeah.
And they played a big role during was it Iraqi Freedom and some of the other
I
ones?
think it's very insightful that my chat and you guys knew that when I said ally, I actually meant people who could actually help us, not people who just depend on us to protect them.
Yeah.
So, because most of the time when you ask that question, who's our ally, they'll start out with Germany, France, all these countries. I'm like, no, we spend a shit ton of money to Ukraine. Ukraine's not our ally.
No.
Ukraine's literally our enemy for some stupid reason. We keep giving them money.
Yeah, I'm sick of that personally. But yeah, I about Poland, I don't know if they actually deployed forces, during all the recent conflicts. So I can't speak for that. But like you said, I definitely know for a high percentage certainty they didn't borrow money from us. They've been making their own money, and they've been coming to us and say, "What do you got for sale?" Here, they pay cash.
That's true. The AWACS, by the way, he's right. The AWACS was a trade for the submarine tech that we gave them last year before last.
Yeah, the AUKUS deal.
A massive amount of criticism for it. Huge. Like all of the papers were mad, and maybe it wasn't last year, maybe it was under Trump's deal, but when we gave them like 2 nuclear subs, like old ones,
No,
but they were still...
actually no. It's we haven't given to them yet, but they're going to get the first 3 Virginia class submarines after the Navy is done with them. They're going to get the Texas, which I helped build, the the Virginia, Texas, and the Hawaii. And the Texas is the one I helped build when I was at Newport News Shipbuilding, by the way.
Nice.
So my little personal tie-in with all that. And also, we're between us and the United Kingdom, we're going to teach their Navy how to operate nuclear subs. They've actually graduated their first 2 classes of Royal Australian officers through the Navy's nuke school. So yeah, they're coming on board with all that. So, but it's not, like you said, it's not, from what I know, and I could be wrong, but it's not 100% like subsidized through our government. It is, I would argue, probably the most equal trade. Does that make sense? Yeah. I probably don't have all the specifics.
You want that? We'll just, we'll do some swapping. I got you.
Quid pro quo. Is that the word, right?
Yeah. Arctic Timberwolf wants to know, where did your bloodline immigrate to America from? Well, an eighth of me was already here because I have Cherokee and another Indian tribe. I don't know the second one, but definitely a lot of Cherokee. And on one side, I have Scotch, Irish, and Welsh, and then on the other side, I have English and maybe Germanic. Well, we're not really sure. And of course, English can be anything from the Celts to the early Viking type, or whatever they were. I forget what they're called, but yeah, I'm just a mix, man. I'm a mutt.
We all are.
Yeah, but we got a lot of Indian in me, actually. So I have. So I only have allegiance to America.
America.
Yeah.
So how you doing, Clover Tack?
Oh, I'm okay.
You feeling good today? Getting ready for shot?
Yeah, I'm working on getting things gathered up, packed.
You started taking your vitamin C boosters and all that?
Well, I take all the kinds of supplement stuff like all the time because I go to shows all the time. So
yeah, well, SHOT Show.
It doesn't do me any good
every year. It
try to pre-prep. Just do it all year long, and you're good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it seems like that. Half the people that go to SHOT Show come back with something.
SHOT Show crud is a real thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a real thing. But no,
that's what I've heard.
I've dodged that bullet.
Figured I would jump in here for a little bit. That way, mainly, just.
What do you think about isolation versus interventionalism?
I have no problem with isolation for sure. 0. Like if there's something we've got to do, I mean, if there's drastic benefits to us, maybe. But in the world of tech and just a lot of the other things, and especially the capability that the United States military has, I mean, if we do have to, um, help, if we're asked, if we're paid, if we're, whatever the case may be to help. I mean, it's not like we have to go send the entire armed forces somewhere. So,
This is true.
couple of specialized units, maybe a carrier, in the area, and we're fucking done. I mean, not that hard.
Right. Well, that's actually a really solid point. Why do we need these bases when we can put Marines on the ground within 24 hours, 48 hours anywhere on the planet? Like,
it's an additional, this is one of the angles that I've always said, is it's an additional means of income or economic injection for said places that we have bases, right?
Yeah.
Because where the people on that base that come and go and do, or like stay on the base, where are they going to go and do and get in those areas, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to eat in the restaurants. They're going to, whatever. Like,
yeah, corporately. So if I have that as a business, right, and I know that I'm going to be like, and let's just say that I have a, one of my like I have a construction company, and I'm going to have 12 workers in the hotel for a week, and I can put them in one town, but that town hates me. The hotels are expensive. The sheriff, likes to pull people over and give them tickets and all of that. And on the other side of that, I go to the Department of Commerce, and I say, hey, listen, I'm going to bring 30 people to your sleepy little town. They're going to eat 3 meals a day. They're going to buy gasoline. They're going to buy smokes. They're going to party. They may even go to a bar once in a while. And I can do that, or I can rent a couple of RVs and stick them in an RV park. And it'll save me money to stick them in an RV park, but they'll be a lot happier in your town. But you're going to have to give me, you're going to have to give me something. You're going to have to give me some money. You're going to have to cover a few nights at a hotel. You're going to have to do something to make it worth my while to do that. And in general, I will get some sort of concession, right?
Well, that's a lot of these, from a corporate perspective, that's a lot of the tax breaks and a lot of things you see, and you even see this in the entertainment side, or whatever. I know when the GOA was shopping around for their event, they did for the first time last year. Knoxville offered them the better deal. Knoxville actually owned the convention center, and was able, because they were like, hey, we're going to bring in these thousands of people for X number of days and book up all these hotels and think of all the taxes you're getting off of it, and the stimulation to the economy and blah 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 blah, and that's just part
money's
of
money.
Part of brokering those deals, right? Like whatever it is,
yeah,
you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Like it's not just, oh, you've got a beautiful city, we're gonna come do this or do that. It's business. That ain't personal.
That's why Vegas got all of those conventions to start with, is $3 steaks, man. Like,
right. Well, it's for it. A lot of it is the infrastructure, just the ability it being a tourist capital type thing and all of that. Flights are regular and cheap. There's the good Lord at the number of lodging options available. It's absolutely insane. Tens and tens of thousands upon tens of thousands of rooms and other things. That was it's been a conversation. SHOT Show's locked into Vegas until 2029. They're locked into Vegas through 28. And there's been some conversation about if SHOT Show goes to rotate cities again, which years, decades ago it did, where would they go? And at this particular point, with the size of SHOT, with the accommodations needed and other things, there's really only 3 options. There's Vegas, there's Orlando, and there's Chicago. Well, you can throw Chicago out the fucking window, because SHOT Show ain't ever going to happen
Indy
in Chicago. No, Indy's not equipped.
Really?
Yeah. And the thing is, with Orlando, you face the same issue as Orlando's in a similar situation as Vegas, in that Orlando is on basically one side of the country too, right? And
Yeah.
so either way, you're not central to anything like Chicago, of course, would be. And then you've got you're talking about travel destination. You're talking about um, being expensive to stay and stuff like that. An argument can be made that Orlando is actually more expensive than Vegas.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't ever see it moving from Vegas, but um, that makes the difference,
You
man.
never know.
When you got towns that were built off of, you know, off of stuff like that. You know, Orlando, of course, is sort of one, and Vegas is too. Orlando more the Disney, you know, destination type thing, whereas Vegas is more the getaway, gambling, have fun. You know,
I
more
mean,
the
they have
adult.
PRI. They have PRI at.
Oh, Vegas is adult Disneyland. Vegas is adult Disneyland. Our rides are just a little different. They got boobs.
That's fair. That's fair.
The Orlando basically they used to do PRI every year, and they did something to really piss PRI off, and PRI has locked in at Indy for like at least the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know what they did to piss PRI off, but they fucking did it, and they actually PRI was actually going to piggyback with SEMA, and that just didn't really work. So
Yeah.
And that was
Now
interesting.
Indy is close. I think I think Indy could. I mean, they host the NRA stuff, which is a pretty big show. Every 3-4 years,
Yeah.
something like that. They rotate through.
Indy could host it. Austin, Texas might be able to hold it.
There's no way. There's
no?
no way.
No,
Yeah, I
it's
mean, you got to realize that so SHOT Show. I even have concerns at this point with Orlando because while the menu in Orlando is fucking awesome, I don't think it can sustain the size that SHOT Show's grown to. You got to realize SHOT Show is 1, 2, 3, 4 floors of the Venetian and the Caesar Forum now. And not only is it those four floors and the Venetian, but the 5th floor, or Caesars, I should say, but the one of those, the top floor, and I'm skipping a floor because that's more of the media stuff, but but the top floor, they rotate out between new product and the supplier showcase, which is the equipment and machinery and raw materials and things like that. Half the week is one and half the week is the other. So, you could say you could double that floor. You could, because it's 2 different sectors throughout the week. So it's pretty massive. It's pretty massive.
Yeah.
Like I don't, and being in those other venues, I mean, being in the venues, because NRA does travel around in these other shows, and I've been in venues in various multiple cities. There's just nothing like the layout, like the floor space, you got to have that real estate, and there's just nothing fucking like it that I've seen that's big enough. Like I said, I think Indy, infrastructure wise, I think Indy probably could handle it, but they would have to do some like adding multiple floors to their convention center and some other things. I think they probably could get there. I don't know that they're willing to do that. Cost analysis and everything else. I don't know that they would be willing to do that to try to put a bid in come 29 or 29.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I do think it would be fucking hilarious to if it was to ever happen in Chicago. Like, it never will. I mean, we can all agree that'll never happen, but if it did, that would be just fucking fantastic.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing because I used to go to SHOT.
That doesn't allow guns.
Glenn, your mic is horrible.
He swallowed it, I think. Cough it up.
It's a suppository.
Right.
But I need to get my Stream Deck up and running.
I think he said something about Chicago not allowing guns. Yeah, that's why it would be.
I said like so. It'll be funny because the city that doesn't allow guns having guns.
Oh, they got a lot of guns in Chicago.
Right, it's not legal.
Yeah, they're just not legal.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said it'd be fantastic to see because that would mean, Chicago might be coming around.
Glenn, are you in an APC rolling through Beirut?
Oh,
I'm in Baghdad.
Okay, all right, because that's exactly what that sounds like.
It does. It sound like comms.
I'm on a secret mission for President Trump. Okay, he called me in. So can't talk about it. Very secret. Special agent shit.
Yeah, got you.
He does sound like he's coming over a secured comm link.
It's just, it was great, right? Like, I was like, I've heard this before.
Roger, over and out. Copy.
If you'll send your grid coordinates, I'll send you a Snickers bar.
We read you loud and clear.
That would compromise the mission. That would compromise the mission.
It's not Glenn. There's no way an American in Baghdad would turn down a Snickers bar. Yeah.
If you give me a break of that Kit Kat bar, that'll be a different story. Kit Kat.
Yeah, Kit Kat bar. All right. Well, Kat was already here and she left, and I can neither confirm nor deny.
First of all, I don't do married women. Okay, that's the wrong Kit Kat that I was talking about. Okay.
Glenn, how the hell are you today?
Steven, if you're listening to this, it's not me. It's not me. Okay, Steven, if you're listening, it wasn't me. It was him.
You got to work at your connection to make it this bad.
All right, I'm almost home. I'll hop on when I get to the house.
Yeah, please do that.
No,
and take cover, Glenn. There's incoming fire.
No, he really does sound like he's coming over an encrypted data link. I mean, you've heard him.
Yeah.
I know. I've heard him many times, and that sure is pretty close.
Yeah, I really, it's an interesting thing because I was like, I've heard this exact like type of disturbance in the force before, and it sounds like a satellite uplink is what it sounds like. So anyway, Glenn's doing secret squirrel shit. So anyway, so Clover, how the hell have you been in the last few hours that I haven't seen you?
Been okay. Just been busy.
Doing shoot-ins this morning?
I have not. No.
That's why you're sad and testy.
Man, well, I've got 4 range days this week. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Yeah, possibly 5, but 4 confirmed for this week. So or coming up. So in Vegas. So I'll get plenty of trigger time. That's okay. I've been working on the range here at the house, trying to get things a little more better for filming and content production and things like that. So I haven't done a whole lot in the last couple of weeks because I've had that project underway. Now I'll be gone for 10 days, nearly 2 weeks, something like that. So when you don't hear from me for the next 2 weeks or whatever the hell, don't freak the fuck out. But
well, I won't start calling local hospitals in Texas. At least.
Because there's nothing wrong with me. I'll be having fun, and I can promise you I won't be thinking of you.
Yeah, good.
I feel the love.
I won't have time. I won't have time.
That actually makes me really happy. What do you? So what did you hear? So you were there the other night with a Furby.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
How much of that did you hear?
Quite a bit. I was on the panel.
No, I meant before that. Did you? Were you in there when I came up, or?
Oh, I was. As soon as she opened the panel, I was up. Talking about Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as she
Were
opened
you
the
up
panel,
this
I
week?
was there. Fuck yeah,
Oh,
I
I
was.
didn't see you there, man. I didn't
Yeah.
see you.
Okay.
Well, to be fair, that somebody did like my first 1 minute.
You acknowledged me. You acknowledged me 15,000 times.
Well, in my defense, I was put into the back for like 30 seconds.
You were. Yeah, you were.
Paid me out. Yeah.
But you were pretty hostily engaged there too. So, I get it.
I was just returning energy, bro.
You were having tunnel vision, probably. I get it. But yeah,
No.
I was now before Sarah opened the panel. I don't know. I was probably there maybe 30 minutes or so, maybe. Something like that.
Yeah.
Was it a Second Amendment discussion with the furball?
Yep.
Basically.
I got to go back and watch it. That was on Sarah's channel. I got to go back and watch it.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fake news, a lot of manipulation of stats.
Literally every logical fallacy you can name.
It was typical anti-gunner talking points, which are bullshit.
All
and being delivered by a fucking Canadian that has never shot a gun. So
arguing it with the South African.
So it's
Chris. Oh wow.
Just on the what am I thinking? Just on that alone, a Canadian that's never shot a gun, like that's all that the Furby had was just the goofy ass talking points that are and not enough background or knowledge or connections or anything else to understand that the fucking shit they're reading is not true. It's all been manipulated.
The best part, though, you missed out, Mr. Boulay, because we had that Dismo or Disco or whatever Dizzy guy, whatever the fuck his name is. He was on the leftist Latino. And he was on, and he was whining and crying that the U.S. is the reason that his country, he's in Central America, that the U.S. is the reason why his country has so many guns, and if we would just stop making them, blah blah blah. And he was like talking about something, and I was like, I wasn't aware the U.S. made AK-47s. Like that's I'm not really sure where you're getting those. And he was no, it's M16s. I'm like, we haven't made those in 30 years either. You're probably not getting those from us.
He is listening to left-wing media, anti-gunner talking points, and he believes that shit. And if he knew, anything about guns and about the type of arms that cartels have, and I live in fucking Texas, so I know full well.
And where they get said
they're not okay. I can concede that a lot of fucking guns go over the border. I can concede that guns go over the border. I can't concede that a lot because I don't know compared to the amount of gun sales in the United States or whatever. That's subjective to say that it's a lot, right? I can concede that guns do go over the border. Now, do those guns get into criminal hands? I'm sure some do. I'm sure some get into law-abiding citizens' hands wanting to fucking protect themselves from the cartel as well. That can't legally get them in Mexico or whatever the case may be. So they're obtained unlawfully, but they're technically used, I guess, for a lawful purpose, right? And, the two don't offset. I get all that. I'll concede that too. But the thing is, this idea that somehow if you strip away all guns in the United States, all gun production, take all guns away from the populace, blah, 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 that the cartel is just going to quit doing cartel shit. And it's like, are you fucking stupid? Like,
well, it was an interesting.
The populace is unarmed. Let's just be nice now and not sell drugs and shit anymore. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I had to bring up the Fast and Furious thing because I'm an asshole like that.
How many? Let's be honest, Grid. And that's not the first time. That's the only time they were caught, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, and that was thousands of guns, thousands, which have been documented to have been used to murder border agents, by the way. But that's thousands of guns. So when we talk about the case of the individual that's getting guns across the border, how many individuals have the capability, or how many individuals would it take to equal the thousands of guns the government did that one time? You feel what I'm saying? Like the government was like, but you're not going to bring that shit up. You're not going to say, oh, well, 90% of the guns that come over the border are done so by the fucking United States government.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to say that.
It is interesting. I have to address this from Glare 1%er. If we people quit giving Mellotron, I like that, the time of day the Transformer would just fade away. So here's what we figured out is that apparently the Furby likes it better if you're nice to it. Like it like, so being mean and angry kind of pushes it away. It's like it's like funny, any other animal.
It was funny because I don't come in hostile because I'm not. You're not me. This is not my thing. I'm not blood sport debater or anything. And the Furby recanted and backtracked twice when I was talking to it. One on the whole, okay, well, explain to me how if we snap our fingers and get rid of firearms in the United States, well, Japan already has that same situation, but self-deletion rates are higher. So it might drop. It might, okay. But then if we're getting rid of all the guns, you've got to account for the self-defense use, and now those people don't have that. So then those rates of deletions rise. So even if you was to get a drop, it would be offset by the Furby had to concede that. And then the whole thing with the stats, I don't even know what y'all say it. I don't even know what pronouns to use. But either way, the Furby.
I don't give it pronouns.
I don't know, and I'm not into all that, so I don't really care.
We know you're into pronoun. Come on.
Well, I know I've caught myself saying she. And I don't know that that's accurate.
I do too. And,
but it's because everybody else
stomach every time.
It's because everybody else does, right?
Yeah.
So like I don't really care. Like if anybody asks my pronouns, I'm gonna tell them I don't give a fuck what you use. Use whatever the fuck you want. I don't give a shit. But anyway, it doesn't affect me. Like it doesn't hurt my feelings. I don't give a fuck. So whatever. And I would appreciate it if everybody else would just be the same fucking way and we could live life. But getting back to the subject at hand, when it brought up the the number one leading cause of children report. And I was like, well, hey, hang on a minute. First of all, that report says nothing about children. That is a anti-2A talking point that people take that report and twist it because does that not include 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23, and 24-year-olds and the vast majority gang violence? And it said yes. So while it was touting all of the stats that it had been using all night.
Did you hear
all this? And I've done my research and I've done this. That right there by me put a stake in the fucking coffin of the stats it was using.
It was really funny.
It was bullshit.
It was really funny because it was like you asked, is this document? It says yes, and everybody was like, well, when did a 25-year-old become a kid? And
24.
Furby immediately
24, but yeah,
it immediately reverted to prefrontal cortex is not fully formed yet, so it's a juvenile or you're a juvenile or whatever. So very interesting.
Wouldn't make that
That's
case
a great shot of your ceiling fan,
but wouldn't make it wouldn't make that case about transitioning now, would it, or anything else?
Right.
But,
the Furby, for people who are wondering, Glenn, you're muted.
You guys didn't know about the prefrontal cortex? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. So the
technically
Furby
be allowed
is
to be under their parents' insurance till like they're 30 now.
Yeah. So hey, Chili Dog, welcome. We're actually we're kind of winding down right now, but welcome. I do shows quite often, and you're welcome to come in anytime that I'm live. So I'm going to read this Wrongful Rage. Its pronouns are Furby, and that's all I give it. The Furby is a dude
That plays a dude.
that looks like almost like a girl, except for the Adam's apple, and the hair's not that great. And
I don't guess I've ever
And the
seen
balls, the balls. You're forgetting the balls.
right, and it's basically chemically castrated itself. So they're there, but they're still there.
Why is the voice still deep then? Wouldn't that change the voice?
I don't know.
You would think
But
that.
I want to like point out that you guys both admitted to be Furby sympathizers by referring to it as her.
Or she.
Shame on you, gentlemen.
Shame
on
you.
More than her.
I said
maybe.
furball.
I don't know.
I usually say furball or it. But I get tripped up sometimes on Sarah's stream.
So
bro.
Here's my thing. So whether it's a leftist saying you have to use pronouns, or it's a rightist saying that you have to use pronouns, fuck all of you. I will say what I say. You know what I fucking mean, and kiss my ass if you have a problem with it. Like, because again, it gets back into if everybody on that panel is saying she,
you get caught up in it.
Like, yeah, it's. So at the end of the day, that's my whole point is who fucking cares?
Yeah, I don't care about that part of it.
You can call me whatever.
No,
allow
I'm
me to
petty.
call you whatever, and nobody gives a shit. That's the world we need to live in.
I'm really petty, and you want me to call you her? No, bro. What's up, bro?
Well, then you can be petty.
Man.
I did call it. I did call it Furby,
petty,
bro.
Glenn, and you can fucking call me whatever the fuck you want to call me. But at the same time,
so
I'm not doing it out of being petty, but I'm gonna fucking call you whatever I fucking call you.
So
it has
so
nothing
Glenn,
to do with being petty.
Glenn,
I'm all about doing it because I'm petty, so it's okay.
So Glenn, we found the Furby's kryptonite. The Furby's kryptonite is if you're kind of nice to the Furby, and you don't argue with it. It gets bored, and it's trying to gaslight everybody. So when it fails that, it just wanders off. There's no souls to suck, so it wanders off.
Well, all the
defenses do they even take it a victory lap?
It doesn't take a victory lap, no. $5 from Ticky Tack for the grift. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. No, so
the victory lap it took.
This is not my technique because I'm not capable of really being nice to the Furby. But I was talking to, I believe it was actually Ticky Tack that made that observation that if you just kind of don't really engage and just kind of like, yeah, whatever, and just be more or less pleasant, the Furby just gets fucking bored and runs away.
Well, where's the fun in that?
I prefer to make it run away crying. That's my problem. $2 from Ghost 1978. Thank you, sir. In Michigan, get fired for not using pronouns, and that is BS.
In LA, you get sued if you're an employer.
It is, yeah, that's true.
I don't know. So I don't know.
It was Chris. I didn't know that it was Chris that said that. But okay, cool.
Like I don't know if and probably not, but I know that the Furby was dropping links in the private chat, while we were in there
to their OnlyFans,
and so I started dropping links to like Pro 2A organizations, and I dropped 3 to LGBTQ, and then 1 that was Liberal Gun Club in there. And I don't know if the Furby clicked on them or looked at it, or I'm thinking that the Furby is pretty disingenuous and it's just out to have its way and create controversy and score brownie points more than anything. Again, it's from Canada. It's not a gun owner, has never shot a gun, and knows nothing about them. So like,
it's a hell of a shot with a slingshot. A wrist rocket, if you will.
You're gonna tell me that I can't have an opinion on prenatal unaliving because
You got a penis.
I don't have a uterus, but you've never shot a gun, and you're going to tell me to a shit. Like, really?
And he
Yeah.
doesn't
That's the
have
way
a
this fucking works. Like, I don't
So-
think that's the way this fucking works.
See, I don't
And
know why
so,
he talks about women's rights because he doesn't have a uterus either.
well, I mean,
Right.
that could be valid. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so it's very interesting to me because while I was watching, and I did not watch the entire debate. I was doing my show, and I had a great show, and I popped over to Sarah's, and you know, and then I you know, put on my armor, put on my helmet just to make the proper entrance.
You also
I have
try to
my-
tank her fucking stream, you asshole.
Hey, is that so? You can't have video?
A video? No, a video of somebody handling? No.
Really?
Yeah, not
that'll
even
get you
handling
flagged,
a
too.
gun.
I
Yeah.
thought that you couldn't handle live.
You can't handle or play
But
a video of somebody.
So here's the thing. So if it's a static photo, you can get away, right? Like if you just brought a picture of a
Static
gun up on
photo.
the screen, like
Okay.
mine, like my avatar, right? For example,
Right.
how many streams have I been on and continue to go on, and nobody's ever
Uh-huh.
gotten dinged, right? That's a static photo, right? It's
Yeah.
and so it sees that it's an avatar or whatever. It's a
Mhm.
picture, right?
Yeah.
So the robots that crawl YouTube and does its
The
thing,
AI.
if you're playing a video on your live, it can't
Uh-huh.
distinguish whether that video is live or being played. Make sense?
Oh.
Oh, okay. I mean,
Or it has
that's
a problem. Let me
weird,
back up. Let me back up. I don't want to say it can't. That's a definitive.
Yeah, I was going to say because I know that
But
like
I know it has a problem with it because I've
I know that
things
people
for it.
play like Instagram videos and stuff all the
Yeah.
time. And
So I've
don't have
got
a problem.
I got dinged twice. The podcast actually we're doing at SHOT Show next week.
Mhm.
I got dinged twice in 24 on that because of the intro, and I had to go back and change the intro and pull the actual shooting portions out of the intro.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
now I know. But
Hey,
at any
Bubba,
rate,
are you in Vegas right now?
I will be sometime Saturday.
Do you want me to like plug you in with some podcasts out there?
No, I won't have time, dude.
Okay.
There's no way, man.
Offering my service.
I appreciate that, but I
His
don't have
schedule is
time to take
full.
on. Yeah, it's crazy.
the interesting thing is I watched a little bit of the Furby versus Chris, and in the short period of time that I watched, the Furby literally committed every logical fallacy, like all of them.
Mhm.
I mean, straw man, they were all the greatest hits. Straw man, appeal to authority multiple times, genetics, continuum. The only one that I thought that it didn't use was No True Scotsman. But I believe it was Ticky Tack pointed out that in fact he did use No True Scotsman.
How do you? And this flew all over me
Sure.
because it said something to the effect of, "Well, all researchers agree that blah blah blah." I'm like, whoa! Like, what are you fucking
Yeah.
talking about? Like, I literally know all researchers, and you're
Right.
full of shit.
Yeah.
And
That's
then when
that's a
I
red hair-
come on, it's another thing I hit it with. I come on and I said, "Well, what about John Lott?" And like, it didn't even know. So with
Didn't
all
even
of
know who
this,
that was.
with all of this, how in the fucking world, if you are doing your research on the Second fucking Amendment,
Mhm.
how in the world, and you looked at all these researchers supposedly, how in the fuck did you not run across John Lott? That's impossible, is it not?
So so one of red herrings nonstop. Thank you, Mikey Balls. That's true. Absolute red herrings all over the place. But the appeal to authority was also nonstop, and it constantly said experienced professional researchers have compiled this data. They know what they're doing, and you should accept it, more or less. I'm paraphrasing a lot, but I don't want to go into a 30-minute diatribe that the Furby did to justify bullshit. But not one single report that the Furby cited is the authority on gun violence. Not once did he cite the FBI, which is the authority, at least in the U.S., on gun violence. It's their job. It's literally their job to understand and be able to quantify that. They are the authority. They also rule on it and enforce it. So that is your authority. If you're going to appeal to an authority, that is the authority.
Well, the authority represents the man. Therefore, since the Furby is so anti-man, you know, they're just gonna.
That's that's not how that works. But I like where your head's at.
It makes sense. It makes sense. You know,
It makes sense in your head, but it's not. No, well, I mean, an authority is appeal to the ultimate authority, right? So, like, for example, if I make an appeal to, if my son makes an appeal to, you know, whether or not he can go somewhere, I can say, "Fuck no, I'm the authority here, and you can't do it." And I am, in fact, the authority over my son.
But its authority was its research and its stats, and I made it admit that its stats were and research was bullshit.
Yeah.
So like, how are you appealing to authority at the same time you're admitting that your authority is bullshit?
So if he had said these stats represent my worldview, for example, if he had done this, and they're worth considering, I'm basing my worldview off of these stats, then that's not an appeal to authority, right? He's not giving it the authority. But the second he continuously presented his stats as accurate fact, this is fact, and you should live by this. That is saying that Clover dropped. That's basically saying that the stats are the authority.
Furbies get him,
huh?
The Furbies get him.
Furby got him. Sniped him from the chat. Yes, wrongful rage. The cognitive dissonance was literally, basically visible, right? And it was just really terrible. There's enough tradesmen that can make firearms at home if they took our rights away. That's right. Yeah. And the straw man arguments, the red herrings, the continuums, it was all bad. It was all bad faith. Literally saying, just making shit up out of the air. Like, if with a gun in the household, a woman is 8 times more likely to be a victim of violence. What? Like that? How does that even do it?
That's disingenuous.
Wrong button, Clover Tech.
That's disingenuous. It's a tool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's worse than disingenuous. It's just downright wrong. Clover Tech, I don't know what happened, pal. You were here and then you weren't. Like, we were all like, why? You just like exited stage left.
That's something that irks me about furball and a lot of folks. It's probably on the left. They want to turn these stats and surveys into hard science. They're trying to make this survey of 100 people saying, what ice cream is better. They want to compare that to physics, doing an experiment to prove something. Sure. They're trying to turn sociology into physics, and I'm like, bullshit. There's a difference. First, in my opinion, they're not a science. When you take a little survey or something, look, what's the size? What's your sample size? Oh, 100 people. 100 people compared to what? 300 million people in the United States? That's not a fair comparison. And you're going to say, oh, this is the standard. This is truth. 100 people. The 100 people is, you can't even prove that it's even truthful from those people. How do you know that the people going into that survey are being honest themselves? You can't. Unless you can read minds, you can't. So all this stuff is bullshit, and then on top of that, they always have that
Xavier when you need him.
Yeah. And then when they have that, percent error, there's something in engineering, we call it tolerance stacking. And I think Grid knows about that in manufacturing process. When you start stacking all those plus and minuses, your deviation literally gross. So your data set is invalid because your deviation is so huge.
Mhm.
It nullifies any data results you
Hey,
have.
the tomatoes in the house.
But I digress.
Right
Well,
as
it
right as we're
shows
getting
you-
ready to call it a day, but that's
It
okay.
shows you that when it comes to lies, down lies, and statistics, we're talking about
Yeah.
statistics, that you can go out and do surveys and research, and if you have
Mhm.
a predetermined goal in mind, you can make up whatever the fuck you want to make up. And the whole children thing with 18 to 24-year-olds makes that abundantly clear. They could not say that it was the number one cause of death if they used 0 through 18-year-olds. They had, or
Yes.
through 17-year-olds. They had to use 18 to 24 and
Right.
include the gang violence sector in order to ramp those numbers up in order to make it look like it's some type of an epidemic. And
Yeah, that's true.
it's totally fucking dishonest. So when you create your own stats, that's the problem. And if you go to John Lott, and this is the issue too, like it was talking about where does the stats come from, and it was talking about the Furby, and it was coming back at some other people that had mentioned, a study from Harvard or this or that or the other. And it's like John Lott shit comes straight from the fucking FBI. So if you want to say, oh, I don't trust the FBI's numbers, then that means you can't use the FBI numbers for yourself in any of the stats you use that reference the
Right.
FBI's numbers.
Right. And
Ever.
again, the
Ever.
FBI is
Correct.
the authority. You interpreting what the FBI numbers are is not the authority.
Right. Now you can argue that said research or said stats misinterpreted,
Mhm.
right, the FBI data, or
Sure.
they twisted the FBI data, right? But you cannot claim it as an ultimate authority.
Right.
Mm-mm. Oh, Techie Tack makes a great point. He says another issue with surveys: majority do not publish non-response rates or disqualification rates. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well said, sir. Well
Yes.
said. Because the just like what Clover said, a researcher or whoever's sponsoring the study, they can go in there and say, "Oh no, we don't like their answer. We can put that aside."
Yeah.
No, that's disingenuous again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really put really zero to no faith in all these surveys and everything because of
Well, I
reasons.
mean, so and that's actually another interesting point. So the way the FBI works is they don't do surveys. They have the data because ultimately most crime data, especially gun crime data, goes to the FBI.
Mhm.
And in one form or the other. So they can actually compile this stuff, and they do it relatively relatively cleanly, right? And they don't really.
Well,
I mean, obviously they have an agenda, but it's relatively good data, and so there's no polling. They didn't ask anybody. There's no self-reporting. There's none of that. It's quite simply, it either is or it isn't.
Yeah, it's
Raging
factual.
Tomato, I understand that you are the authority. However, we must seek more authority.
so
Need more.
another weird thing about that too was when we were talking about a registry.
Mhm.
It did not understand the difference between data collection through NICS, instant background checks,
Yeah.
which is the numbers you see with this many people bought guns or that, and those
Mhm.
those numbers are riddled with they're
Laws.
ambiguous at best, right?
Yeah.
Because how many of those are the same person?
I don't have to fill one out for every single gun.
What were the actual, like, we don't know, right? Because the ATF is barred by legislation from creating any type of registry with the NICS data. That's why the FFLs hold on to that paperwork until such time that it ceases to exist. And then when the ATF collects it, it goes into cold storage. I've seen the cold storage facility for all of this,
Mhm.
right? So, but when that was brought up, that, hey, that's not a registry, you dumbass. I think you brought it's what you said. That
Mhm.
verbatim, probably.
Yeah.
Then it shifted to, oh, and so you think they're not using that data for a registry? And I'm like, whoa, hold on. Now you're using a Pro 2A argument to make your anti-2A argument. You're using a pro-2A
Yeah.
conspiracy, right, to try to justify your anti-2A argument. Like, how
I
fucked
love
up is that?
conspiracy theories.
Like, and so then it gets back into, we talk about these surveys, we talk about the data and the stats, right? There's a
Mhm.
great source to get all of this shit. You know what it's fucking called? It's fucking called reality, motherfuckers.
Google.
And if you're a Canadian, if you're a non-gun owning fucking Canadian, I'm sorry, but you don't live in my reality as a red, white, and blue-blooded fucking American gun owner, right?
Well, he doesn't live in reality, period.
Exactly.
You know, their screws are loose.
I mean,
Righty, fatty, lefty,
I'm
loosey.
not gonna say that I haven't had loose screws for
No,
quite.
you just
a while.
screwed somebody's screws loose. Big difference. You screw them loose, Grid. They just come with loose screws.
Okay.
Maybe it's left-handed thread, so the more you try to loosen, the more they try to loosen up, the tighter they get wound. You know,
That's it. All right. So those of you who did not see me in all my glory the other night,
Oh, ha ha!
Oh, yes. Yes.
Tactical grid.
I'm
You
just-
come back, Grid.
I'm disappointed.
So,
I'm
sponsors
disappointed
this
that the
time.
I'm disappointed that the nods are not.
I
you
do
weren't
like
using the
this,
nods.
this is that's the helmet I wear in the airplane. So
Yeah.
that was
That's
awesome.
so funny.
It is funny.
So why doesn't the FBI or whatever agency, law enforcement agency or whatever, how come they don't track the amount of people using firearms for their for defense and
Well, they try, but that's so. Here's the thing: if you get out of the movie theater, right?
Mhm.
You're a licensed carrier. You get out of the movie theater, and I come up behind you, right? And I'm all creepy looking, and I'm fixing to rob your ass, and you turn around, and all you do is lift your shirt. I'm like, oh shit, all I got's a fucking knife here. I'm gone, and I hit the fucking bricks, right? And I decide, okay, I'm not robbing this motherfucker. He's armed, right? What do you go report that shit, or you just get in the fucking car and go home? That's number one. And why would me, as the guy about to rob you, go to the police and go, hey, this motherfucker at the movies, I run up behind him with a knife and I was going to rob his ass and he showed me his gun. Like, that don't get reported, right? So that's the issue, is that unless you've got some kind of a situation that's documented, like law enforcement shows up on a scene and they've got a witness that goes, oh, we got called that, some kind of shenanigans were going on here that could be a mass unaliving event or something. And witnesses go, yeah, there was this dude that was with the, he showed up and he pulled his gun and that guy run off, or whatever. Right. And then they file reports and all of that. And then maybe they finally identify the guy and go talk to him. And he goes, yeah, like I seen the guy coming into the store with an AK or whatever. He's like, and I presented and he ran off, and that would be documented, right, as a self-defense use, right? And here's the crazy thing with the self-defense use is the numbers are all over the place, and I'll agree with this, but the smallest numbers, it's roughly 90 to 100,000 total gun-related unalivings a year, right? But the smallest number I've seen of self-defense a year is 166,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if we assume, which we shouldn't, but even if we assume that those instances of self-defense only saved one life, only prevented one unaliving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if the goal is quote unquote saving lives, you've accomplished that. What's the problem? Now, I'm not saying we don't work on things, and I work with a lot of great organizations that make efforts to lower that 90 to 100,000 number. Completely on board, especially the self-unaliving, right? Which is roughly half.
Sure.
But now take that 166,000, and I don't believe the numbers of 3 and 5 million. I find those far-fetched. But let's take that 166,000, and if you look at it objectively, what percentage of those 166,000 prevented a mass tragedy, right? which could have been 10 or 20 or 30, or we don't even
Well,
fucking know.
the problem is we never know that, right? Like you don't know.
You don't
Like,
know what didn't happen, right? Like
right?
how
Yeah,
can you
there's
possibly
no
fucking
way to
know what
know.
didn't happen?
There's no way to know what,
But the
you know.
anti-gunners will not acknowledge that you cannot know what didn't happen. And so what you have to do is you have to use assumptions and speculation. And especially over here in the debate sphere, like you get eat alive if you start trying to do that shit. They're going, oh, well, you can't, you're just living in a fantasy world or some kind of shit. Just
Yeah.
like, but that's reality.
Yeah, that's exactly what they'll say. That was so. It's an interesting thing to me, Clover, is the way that the stats get thrown about, which is just horrible and irresponsible, and all of the words, right? All of the words that mean that you're an idiot. That's how these stats get thrown around, and but the debate itself was good. The only problem that I had, I mean, it's not a problem for me, but the interesting thing is that all of the fallacies were used, and I had a great time when I came up in my bump helmet and my armor, and it was great. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun. It was and it was interesting to see Lestrange try to come at it being from South Africa, tried to come at it from, some of the angles he was coming at it from. I thought that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah, I think part of his tactic was just to allow the Furby to just keep talking and talk itself, because it's just kind of bad. I mean, when you're that bad faith, you're just going to talk yourself into looking like an idiot.
It totally, you were there for its closing argument, right?
Yeah,
like
that
it
was
totally
hilarious.
shot itself in the foot because it says you solve all these problems by taking the guns away. How the fuck do you possibly do that in the United States? First of all, like, let's have that conversation, because good fucking luck,
Well,
and then the second thing is it said is, oh, we got to practice safe storage, and that means unannounced visits to check your firearm storage. I'm like, whoa, hold on a fucking minute. You've now obliterated the entire fucking Bill of Rights. What the fuck are you talking about?
So, Clover, did you get an eyeful of when it challenged me on the 4473 that I asked? It made some weird statement about being able to just go ahead and buy a whatever, and I'm like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, have you ever filled out a 4473? And it
Well,
just
in
kept.
some states, and that did not come up. But I mean, sometimes, when I go back and forth, it does. No. I didn't. You didn't let me finish.
I got you.
I pulled the Second Amendment and I gave you the fucking whatever, the meat before I gave you the potatoes,
Gotcha.
or the potatoes before the meat. Anyway, the thing is, the conversation often comes up with 4473. You got to go through that. Well, in some states you don't. In some states there is private sale, and if you have private fucking property, you should be able to sell the shit. So,
right. Well,
4473s are all fucked anyway. But down with the fucking 4473s, I say. But
yeah, she was talking specifically about going out and buying a firearm in a store or whatever.
Yeah,
and I said, well,
right?
You can't just walk. I think something about some weirdness, and I'm like, have you ever filled out a 4473? And because it's made some ridiculous claim.
Well, of course not.
And
it's
I
in
called
Canada
that.
And it's never owned a gun, so it's
right. I called and then it the Furby spurred into registry. The FBI knows what you have, and I'm like, no, they don't. They have no fucking clue what I've got. Like, they have absolutely none. Like, literally, since you don't understand the paperwork, then you don't understand the reality that no, they have no idea what I have. They don't even know how many I have, because when I fill out a 4473, they put rifle, pistol, or shotgun. And that's it. And I can fill out one 4473 for 3 or 4 guns, as long as I'm happen to be buying them right then that day from the same seller. And
it requires, well, if you live in border states, there's some stipulations. If you do more than one handgun, there's some extra paperwork on the FFL's part. and some other stuff. So it's even more complex. That's what I'm saying, Griff, than you made it out to be. But you gotta understand that. And
well, not on my side. Not on my side as a buyer. I just
yes. That's correct. That's correct. Not on your side, but it would affect whether or not you could get said guns.
Right.
Right.
It would. Yeah. Just
So,
I walk in and I keep.
It was it was funny. It shot itself in the foot, pun intended, so many times. And one of the reasons they were talking about, so says what, safer with a gun or without a gun, whatever the fuck the prompt was. But the base of the argument was that, are you safer, safe for having a gun? And we're talking about crime deterrence, and we're talking about all this other stuff. And then when the issue come up, it was somebody out there in the chat that had super chatted the question of, did the Furby own guns, or had the Furby ever shot a gun or something? And it made the statement that it had not ever shot a gun. It does not like guns. And I don't remember if they used the word afraid or scared, but either way, it doesn't matter, of guns.
It's not safe.
And I'm thinking, whoa, okay. So you just blew your whole argument out of the water, because you just made the point that we're making with criminals. Like, you're saying criminals aren't afraid of guns or whatever, and it's not going to make a difference because criminals aren't afraid, but you're afraid. So how can you say that criminals aren't afraid?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks, I guess. Guys, I'm actually long. I wasn't watching the time. I apologize.
That's what she said.
Get caught up into this.
Long, strong, time to get the friction on.
Right.
He's playing with his stream deck, so let me hear. Hang on.
I'm playing with that long, strong, time to get the friction on.
Yo, man, you need to talk.
I can talk louder. You cannot tune me out.
You seriously can talk.
I think I'm gonna go wash my balls with tactical soap.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of tactical soap, Glenn, can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
Am I getting you in trouble with Grondike with all my little ad hoc, ads and super chats? Is that a problem with them? Because I don't want to make any.
They actually like it. It's funny.
Oh, they know about it?
Oh yeah, trust me.
They do.
I got a few emails. Actually, they want me to make some more commercials for them after they saw the Resto one too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, I was thinking about it.
No, so Chris thinks he's gonna just be able to tune me out.
Don't worry, I can do all kinds of things.
I can sound like Glenn Moore.
You can't sound like me.
I don't know what you're doing. I keep trying to figure it out, but I don't.
I can push buttons too.
What about
Yeah.
Lonzo?
Glenn Lawrence has been doing God's work. I know who my
Stream deck wars, apparently.
I know, guys. I got to get out of here. I've got to go do stuff.
Fucking quitter. Quitter.
I'm a quitter. Normally, I would send you over to Glenn's, but he's shockingly not live today. I don't know what's up with that, but of course, he's not usually live. I mean, he's actually not even awake at this time.
I'm not usually alive. Shut up.
He's normally he's like asleep.
I'm supposed to be in my coffin right now. I'm supposed to be in my coffin hibernating.
If by coffin you mean blankie, I guess, but
yeah, it's a weighted blankie. Okay,
a weighted blanket. Oh,
yeah, so it makes you feel like your mother's hugging you. Never had that. Well, I never had a mother, so.
Oh, I'm almost sorry. You almost got a tear out of me.
But don't.
But you
Well,
didn't.
hey, Glenn, if it ever becomes an issue with Grandi, let me know. and
Oh
I'll stop.
no. Actually, I want to talk to you because we might have you help me write the script for it.
Oh, we can do that. I would. Yeah, I'm on board. No problem. I would love to do that.
Sweet. It'll be some fun.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll talk later. Plus, I need to catch back up with you because I did.
Yeah, we
reach out
need
to
to
you
touch base anyways.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We need to touch base anyways because we were supposed to talk earlier.
Yeah, I wanted your help on a workout routine and stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, thanks. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Clover Tech. Thank you, Grit, for letting me be up and kind of entertain the crowd and stuff. I really appreciate it. And great discussions today. Really appreciate it. Fresh content is in the work. I actually shared a lot of my notes with everybody today.
Yeah.
And appreciate the opportunity. Appreciate the support. And everybody have a good day and enjoy yourselves. Be well, be safe, and all that good stuff. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Clover Tack,
I'm
you want
gonna
to?
go wash my ball sack with Grondike soap. Okay.
You
Like
should.
real.
Should 100% wash your ball
All right.
sack.
Peace.
Clover Tack, what do you got for us?
All
buddy?
right. Oh, I don't have anything.
All right.
Don't expect to hear from me for about 2 weeks, but other than that,
2 weeks. He's out. All right.
Right. Later.
Less gun prattle, I guess. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, glad to have everyone in the show today. It's been great. It's going to be a good show tomorrow. I'm not sure that I'm debating tonight. If I am, I will throw out the link as soon as I have it. In the meantime, I'm going to send you somewhere to hang out that's cool and, be cool. Wear glasses if you need them and get off.
I am everywhere. I am inside each and every single one of you. You just look in, and I will be there. Even out at you, naked.